Chapter 301. Moreover, he had obtained the mother mark of the 7 elements corpse curse seal. With a thought. Within the heaven and earth chessboard, countless pure heart divine chess pieces, like soldiers clutching spears, solemnly surrounded the corpse curse mark, which was exuding denser death chi and corpse chi in the center. Compared to the sub-mark, this mother mark was even more powerful, and it would probably take quite a while to wear down. But there was no doubt that once he succeeded in refining it, he would be able to detect the strength of the corpse god cult's experts on another level. This 7 elements corpse curse mother and child seal, now fully converged into one entity, probably has reached the rank of 7 elements superior grade. After refining it, I wonder if I can find out the bearers of the 6 ministries corpse curse seal. Li Che thought this, but for the other party to possess the 6 ministries corpse curse seal, how powerful must they be? Shaking his head, Li Che put that question aside and focused on the restless and furious 7 elements corpse curse mother seal. Li Che directly manipulated 2 dark golden divine chess pieces, which almost made the lines of the chessboard sink, to his command. The mother seal instantly quieted down and became docile. Like evil spirits intimidated by the admonishment of the deities guarding the doorways, they trembled and cringed. Li Che smiled, manipulating the pure heart divinity to slowly wear down and refine it. Exiting the heaven and earth chessboard, Li Che tore through the air with his fingers, dropping 2 Kyunkan jades. One was acquired from the close combat with Su Juking, the other was the treasured possession of the 8 Extremes corpse god envoy of the corpse god cult, whom he had beaten into a mess while in his golden heavenly king bull demon form. The harvest is always something to look forward to, and it brings beauty to one's mood. Opening both Kyunkan jades at once, Li Che divided his divine sense into 2, one left and one right, and began to explore. The Kyunkan jades of 2 divine phase realm experts. Stay connected via Empire. They wouldn't let Li Che be too disappointed, would they? Li Che began to tally his gains. Divine crystals of these 2. 4 8 extremes divine crystals. 29 luminaries divine crystals, 110 10 cities divine crystals. Not bad. Li Che was pleasantly surprised. Divine crystals, similar to his pure heart divinity, could quickly enhance pure heart divinity and increase the condensing speed of the 7 emotions divine base. They are the most practical things. Pity, there's no 7 Yuan divinity crystal. Li Che felt a bit of regret. But that was to be expected. With the entry of 4 8 extremes divine crystals, Li Che was already very happy. Following the divine crystals were divine weapons and elixirs. Li Che grasped with his 5 fingers, and a sword artifact hidden within its sheath fell into his hand. His palm suddenly turned to jade color, 1000 analyzing hands. Analysis. Divine Soldier, 7 elements superior grade Lu Xian Ice Sun Sword. Craftsmanship, forged from millennium cold iron and cast with red gold, mixed with awe-inspiring divinity and wrath divinity, and hammered and refined with intense fire 1000 times, emulating the sword of a sword immortal, can connect with awe-inspiring divinity, wrath divinity, producing ice and fire with the sword's release. In charge, awe-inspiring divinity, wrath divinity, sword intent grandmaster, void aspect, and above. A 7 elements divine soldier sword, emulating the sword crafted by a sword immortal. Sword of sword immortal Lu. Li Che's eyes flickered with a trace of unusual color. Could it be the one from the 8 immortals? After pondering for a moment, he put away the divine armament treasure sword. Besides this divine weapon, Su Juking's collection contained only 1 or 2 10 cities divine weapons. After all, as an elder of the enforcement hall, even though he was an undercover agent, he still worked diligently and honestly. He didn't seem to have engaged in much corruption or bribery. But thinking of the 7 Yuan lower grade divine weapon that Su Juking had given to Shangguan King Glei to threaten XIXI, Li Che felt irritated. Obviously, he had judged too early. As for the 8 extremes corpse god envoy, there were no 7 elements divine weapons in his Kyunkan Jade, only 1 8 extremes lower grade divine weapon. Poor. Li Che sympathetically explained for him that he must have come in a hurry and didn't bring a 7 elements divine weapon. In terms of elixirs, Li Che was quite astonished. With a wave of his hand, a bottle enclosed within black jade, filled with rich and bubbling death chi, appeared in his palm. A 7th rank lower grade death chi condensing martial elixir. Did this guy exchange his divine soldiers for this elixir? Li Che's eyes sparkled, thrilled beyond measure. With such concentrated death chi, this 7th rank elixir would even be quite effective in body refinement for him. For someone who had reached the furnace grandmaster physique, such an elixir would have an effect. There was only one 7th stage elixir, 6 8th rank death chi martial pills in total, and the rest were 9th rank martial pills, better than nothing. After all, Su Joking was a traitor who cultivated the cursed copper corpse, not possessing a single genuine martial pill, all were death chi martial pills. Li Che could only gladly accept them. Contentedly storing away the elixirs, Li Che continued to review the Dharma. There were quite a lot of dharmas, miscellaneous in nature. But Li Che was most interested in only two. The only two that could catch his eye now. As one of the elders of the Golden Light sub-sect's divine phase realm, in charge of one peak, Su Joking mastered one supreme true meaning secret technique. The supreme true meaning secret technique Liu Xian sword scripture. Not inferior to the supreme true meaning secret technique 8 Flood Dragon's River overturning skill cultivated by Li Qingshan. Both are divine sect's true intent secret techniques, regarded as supreme, a level higher than Shangguan family's Pale Thunder body. This is the disparity between the divine sect of Mansion City and the noble families. However, if it were the Temple Control Bureau, Kintian Observatory, the secret techniques they possessed should also be of supreme grade. With another secret technique in hand, the Dragon Elephant True Force would become even stronger. Li Che felt that his Dragon Elephant True Force might need a new name. Incorporating many secret techniques into one, why not call it Myriad Transformations Dragon Elephant? Li Che smiled, after all, wasn't he the creator of this secret technique? What name to give it was surely up to him. And the second Dharma came from that 8 Extremes Corpse God Envoy. It wasn't a secret technique, but a divine secret technique. Li Che narrowed his eyes, looking at the scroll enveloped by dark, deathly chi. Chapter 302. Space-Time Corpse Technique. An ultimate skill-level divine secret technique. Once minor accomplishment is achieved, one can transform into death chi black smoke and shuttle through space. Oh. So this is that space shuttling technique that seems like it's gone off the rails. Li Che raised an eyebrow. The shuttling method that Su Joking, who kept him waiting until he was nearly at his wit's end, used? It was nothing compared to a single hair of his thunder chess piece. Both required the coordinates to be marked in advance before shuttling to the designated location. The difference in efficiency was like comparing gigabit internet speed with 10 megabit internet speed. However, Li Che didn't completely look down on this secret technique. Although it's somewhat rubbish in terms of moving positions, this space-time corpse technique involves time and space. At major accomplishment, not only does the death key speed in shuttling through space increase, but it can also, briefly suspend time. Time suspension? Even though it's only for half a breath's time, less than a second, for top-level fighters, this brief moment of time suspension can be extremely deadly, severely affecting the rhythm. Li Che's eyes focused, and he couldn't help but become alert. But at the same time as he was cautious, he also couldn't help feeling a bit tempted. Can I cultivate it? If I can cultivate it, can I integrate it into my Dragon Tooth Bodhi bullet? Add latest chapters at Freeobnovlo only. Wouldn't it be an extremely tricky variable speed sniper bullet if it could make the target's time suspend while my own speed remains unchanged? Li Che was extremely tempted as he began to flip through the information, determined to research it even if he himself couldn't cultivate it, and to integrate it into the mechanisms. The night was deep and silent. Li Che returned to Zhenglei Peak. The small courtyard was quiet, Xixi had just had her birthday, and everyone was either cultivating or sleeping. Li Che walked out of the study, retracting his fairy in the painting avatar who was carving wood carvings. After that, he extinguished the candlelight, stretched lazily, and his joints made a crackling sound. In front of him, glimmers of light flickered past. Deo Fruit, Immortal Artisan, LV3, 86%, Dragon Elephant Vajra, LV3, 70%, Pure Heart, LV3, 7%, Chess Saint, LV3, 15%, Fairy in the Painting, LV1, 5%. The summary of Deo Fruits appeared before his eyes. Li Che glanced at it, feeling pleased. Excluding Immortal Artisan, the maturity of the other Deo Fruits had all increased significantly. Enjoy new tales from Empire. Especially the Dragon Elephant Vajra Deo Fruit, as killing Su Joking and an 8 Extremes Corpse God Envoy while in the Golden Heavenly King ascending stance had given it a considerable boost. The Chess Saint's Deo Fruit had also increased significantly due to absorbing the divinity of corpses. As for the fruit of the Heavenly Deo from within the painting, even though it had just been obtained, Li Che's avatars had been working hard on it. Everything was flourishing and steadily improving. Li Che was very satisfied. With his vital energy cleansing his physical body, Li Che returned to his room. To his surprise, the oil lamp inside was still lit, and his wife Zhangya was sitting in front of it, staring blankly at the flickering flame. Without a doubt, his wife had waited up for him. Because Zhangya had guessed what Li Che was going to do tonight. Furthermore, the massive outbreak at Flowing Sword Peak had also been sensed by Zhanglei Peak. That was a battle involving a divine minister master, so Zhangya naturally worried about her husband's safety. Seeing Li Che return, Zhangya hurriedly got up, running into his arms and wrapping hers around his waist. "It's good to have you back safe and sound." "Good to have you back safe." Zhangya let out a sigh of relief. Li Che's eyes were gentle, softly patting his wife's tender shoulders. "It's okay, I know what I'm doing. I'm the pillar of this household, and I won't put myself in danger." Li Che comforted her tenderly. Zhangya lifted her cheek buried in Li Che's embrace, her eyes brimming with a crystalline sheen, "But I'm still scared and worried." "You need to believe in your husband's might and strength," Li Che said with a smile, "for this family, I won't and I can't afford to let anything happen to me. After all, I have you and XIXI to think about." Zhangya pursed her lips. Li Che laughed heartily and directly lifted his wife's slender legs, heading to the inner chamber. "Stop it, XIXI is sleeping with me tonight." Zhangya, in a panic, couldn't help but blush. "Don't worry, she won't hear a thing." Li Che calmly activated the heaven and earth chessboard, covering XIXI in a solid shield. Reassured, the couple began to develop and solidify their bone-tempering postures. The next day, dawn. Zhangya didn't get up. Li Che, feeling refreshed, prepared breakfast for the whole family. He first transported himself to the courtyard of Falling Flower Alley, calmly arriving at the small eatery, where the sleepy black dog was yawning and stretching its paws. "Boss, what's for breakfast today?" Li Che entered the fly-infested inn and asked. A handsome young man walked out of the kitchen, glanced at Li Che, "Only steamed buns." "Then give me 100. Li Che teased the big black dog at the door. The young man's face darkened, "There aren't that many, only 30. "Then 30 will do." Li Che didn't mind. The young man turned back into the kitchen, came out with 3 steamers, and let Li Che help himself. Li Che, without ceremony, took 30 buns and then filled a large jar with soy milk. "Boss, since I'm buying so many buns, do I get the soy milk for free?" "Scram!" Li Che smiled, tossed a gold leaf, kicked the big black dog at the door which was trying to sneak a bun, and left laughing amidst the dog's bared teeth and grimaces. The young boss collected the gold leaf calmly, eyeing the figure disappearing into the snow. He grabbed a bun and handed it to the black dog, feeding it while patting its head. Li Che brought the breakfast back, and everyone enjoyed their meal. XIXI ate 10 all by herself, her mouth greasy. "Daddy, these pork buns are so delicious. I want more tomorrow." XIXI excitedly said with a pork bun in each hand. "By the way, why is mommy still sleeping in?" XIXI asked, puzzled. "Your mom overdid it with the bone tempering last night, let her rest well," Li Che said, his expression unchanged. After breakfast, Old Chen, puffing on his pipe, pulled Li Che aside. He tapped out the ash from his pipe, his cloudy eyes filled with a touch of hope. "Che! Do me a favor, I want to see some blood." Chapter 303. Old Chen wanted to see blood. That was something Li Che had agreed to before. Li Che had said that it was not suitable for XIXI's birthday to see blood, and they should wait for a better day. Today, XIXI's birthday was over. Old Chen's eyes were cloudy with traces of bloodshot. Clearly, he hadn't slept well last night. Li Che stuffed a bun in his mouth and looked at Old Chen. "All right." He didn't ask why. He didn't inquire about the reason. Because Li Che trusted in Old Chen's nature, he wouldn't harbor any ill intentions, and the blood he wanted to see would not be from any innocent person. Old Chen's tense body suddenly relaxed. He let out a long breath. The oppressive feel that Li Che now exuded was too strong. If he hadn't known Li Che's secret identity, it would have been fine, but knowing it, Old Chen felt as overwhelmed as facing a mountain, so suffocated he could hardly breathe. Bull Demon. That renowned figure in Feilei City, hailed as a lone hero, hating evil as if it's personal, not blinking an eye when killing. Now that he was in Golden Light Prefecture City, Old Chen kept hearing tales about him. In the tea house, the storyteller spoke of a hero who single-handedly toppled the nefarious fishing gang, freeing many exploited workers, restoring their lives to tranquility. That is a hero. And now, the hero is right beside me. When old Chen first learned of Li Chei's identity, he was numbed, unable to calm his thoughts for a long time. It turned out, he, old Chen, had support before he knew it. This bull demon, wasn't that his support? But after careful thought, old Chen inexplicably developed concerns and estrangements, becoming very cautious in his actions. After all, the bull demon could kill a divine foundation expert as easily as slaughtering a chicken. Seeing old Chen's unease, Li Chei smiled gently and patted old Chen on the shoulder. Old Chen, relax, there's no need to be so tense. I have always been HA, and that won't change. Li Chei's voice was very gentle, comforting like a spring breeze, along with the peace of a pure heart. Old Chen's tension and anxiety dissipated like smoke. Yes, this boy, who he had taken under his wing, the same boy who used to smile while moving wood carvings in front of him, the youngster who carried wood for him. Naive, honest, simple, extremely kind to those around him, at least, that's how old Chen saw it. That was enough. Old Chen Tut took a puff of soldering smoke. Beggar's Sect. I work at the Beggar's Sect, responsible for guarding a yard behind the Yunfang boat. At first, they told me to guard it well, not to look at what I shouldn't see. I also upheld this belief, operating within my role, not thinking about looking at what I shouldn't. But as you know, gradually I felt more and more death chi and corpse chi within me, then I knew trouble was coming. This job had major problems. Old Chen slowly started talking about his work. Logically speaking, only 20 taels a month, it's not worth risking my life. Feeling the death chi and corpse chi, I planned to resign and escape the job, but just before I left, a girl escaped from the yard I was guarding. Information drilled into my brain with a deadly impetus. It turns out, those women from Yunfang boat, they all came from this yard, their entire lives possibly confined within that yard. Old Chen closed his eyes, recalling the images he saw, his heart trembling slightly. The girl asked me for help, I saved her, and let her go home, but I know I did something wrong. Old Chen let out a soft sigh. I'm too weak, even though I have blood exchange cultivation, faced with this world, I'm too frail to stand up at all. Li Chei could feel the guilt emanating from him. Without needing to ask, Li Chei knew the outcome of that girl, his expression turning solemn. I, old Chen, am too fond of life and afraid of death. Back in Feilei City, I was afraid of trouble, thus I ran to the wood carving shop in outer city, wanting to stay away from the conflicts of the inner city. But I, old Chen, also have my own conscience, just as I had interfered with your family's issue with Spirit Infant Sect. However, it's different this time, completely different. I harmed a family. Old Chen seemed much older all of a sudden, his former martial world flare seemed to be extinguished. Li Chei nodded at his words. Beggar's Sect. Implanting corpse chi and death chi upon old Chen, targeting whom, was naturally clear, it was very obvious. The target of the Beggar's Sect was XIXI, within the Beggar's Sect, surely there were experts from the corpse god cult hidden. Then everything was easy to explain. Li Chei, as of now, was already in a life and death situation with the corpse god cult. This Beggar's Sect, he eventually had to make a visit. If it were before, Li Chei might have been slightly wary, hesitating because his combat power wasn't strong enough. But now, there was no need to hesitate anymore, he had enough strength and confidence to do some things. Corpse god cult. Li Chei picked up another bun, gently took a bite. He comforted old Chen for a while, smiling as he said, actually, I'm not really a hero. I've always just wanted to properly protect my family. I'm opposing the corpse god cult because they want to harm XIXI, my daughter. As a father, how can I endure? Li Chei shook his head. But since they bullied my family, naturally I won't just endure. Leave it to me. Li Chei looked at old Chen, his eyes profound. Old Chen, hearing this, didn't show much joy, but instead stepped back and bowed to Li Chei. This matter, I owe you, old Chen. You're making it too formal, old Chen. Li Chei shook his head. But you must also watch out for your safety, don't force things that shouldn't be forced, preserving your life is paramount, old Chen said in a deep voice. Chapter 304. He certainly didn't want any mishaps to occur to Li Chei because of his matters. Li Chei gestured for old Chen to be at ease, then stood up and looked towards XIXI, Gong Yu and Liang, and Gong Yangshu, the three little ones. All right, we've eaten, drunk, and played, it's time for each to find their peak and cultivate properly. Youth is not an excuse for laziness. Li Che clapped his hands and called out to the three youngsters. Daddy, I want to eat one more, XIXI said, blinking her bright, sparkling eyes and holding up one finger to indicate she wanted one more bun. Gong Yangshu and Gong Yuan Liang indicated they would eat no longer, and Lu Qi by their side was constantly shaking his head. They had been competing in eating buns, and they were all nearly sick from it. Only XIXI was truly enjoying the delicious taste of the buns. XIXI could really eat. Li Che smiled and said, "Aren't you saving one for your mother?" At his words, XIXI's small brows furrowed and she released the bun she was holding. "Oh right, Mom hasn't eaten yet, let's save it for her, XIXI won't eat any more." "Very good," Li Che praised with a smile, rubbing XIXI's head. Picking up XIXI and taking Gong Yuan Liang, Gong Yangshu, and Lu Qi, the three little blondes, he left the courtyard together. Golden light peak dapping. Sang Wanyan took away XIXI, who was jumping around and occasionally describing the unforgettable deliciousness of the buns to Sang Wanyan. After Li Che sighed in relief, he turned and descended the mountain. Heavy snow fluttered, as large as duck feathers. Cliff Rock Treasure Pagoda. The flying eaves and upturned corners of the treasure pagoda's roof were stacked with a thick layer of snow, reducing its brilliance by a lot, adding a touch of poetry and painting. The river water from the Nine Dragons River that flowed through the city had not frozen over. After all, it was connected to the outside rushing river, as if there was a furnace heating underneath the riverbed. Li Che arrived at the Cliff Rock Treasure Pagoda of the Kintianjian, as usual. Coming to work, he had accumulated several wood carvings to submit for his task. Now, these wood carvings were not made by him but by his fairy in the painting avatar, who would carve them. Once finished, the memories would return to his body as if he had completed them himself. Shang Guan Qinghong, who had taken off her shoes, was cracking melon seeds barefoot in her chair and reading a romance novel. The deaths of Shang Guan Zhenghong and Shang Guan Qinglei felt like a heavy burden lifted from Shang Guan Qinghong's shoulders. Since then, she had no further ties with the Shangguan family. She had become utterly carefree and indolent. Li Che approached her, took out all the wood carvings he planned to hand over, and displayed them in front of Shangguan Qinghong. "Che, your efficiency has increased. In the past, you would need half a month just to carve one," Shangguan Qinghong exclaimed in surprise. Li Che smiled and said, "You take care of the delivery for me and collect the payment while you're at it." "Sure, leave it to me," Shangguan Qinghong said with a smile. This was indeed her job while on duty, to handle task submissions for some heavenly oversight guest officials, saving them some time. After handing over the wood carvings, Li Che planned to leave, return to the courtyard in Falling Flower Alley, and then go to reorganize the beggars' sect. He had not yet left the treasure tower when he was called to a stop. The one who stopped him was Gong Yunli, that magistrate with a very broad chest. "Li Che has seen the minor supervisor," Li Che greeted with a cupped fist salute, smiling. Gong Yunli assessed Li Che up and down, becoming more satisfied as she looked. Honest, dutiful, and keeping to himself she, Gong Yunli, liked such persons, as long as they stayed out of trouble. Since becoming a heavenly oversight guest official, Li Che had been famously dutiful and kept to himself. He was extremely measured in his actions. Every task he undertook each month was completed to perfection, with every employer full of praise. If there was to be a fault pointed out about Li Che as a guest official, it would be that he was too perfect. "Gong Minor Supervisor, I was wondering about that matter I inquired about, how is it going?" Li Che couldn't help but ask. Gong Yunli shook her ample, undulating chest and started to laugh. "You have been a third-class guest official for a year now. According to the rules, you qualify to apply for the second-class guest official assessment. I have already arranged it for you. In about half a month, they will notify you to undergo the second-class guest official assessment. The second-class guest official assessment requires a report to the provincial Kintianjian, which will specifically send personnel to conduct the assessment, hence, it takes another half a month before it can be held," Gong Yunli explained. At her words, Li Che showed little regret. "Your next chapter is on Empire." After thanking her, he planned to leave. However, Gong Yunli moved quickly, spreading her arms and aggressively blocking him. "I haven't finished talking yet, what's the hurry?" Gong Yunli said anxiously. Li Che almost couldn't stop himself from bumping into her. It must be said, this Lord Minor Supervisor indeed had a chest, with a chest intended for brains. "Minor supervisor, please speak," Li Che said with a gentle smile. "Come meet the Lord of the Supervision with me," Gong Yunli suggested, flapping her ornate, brocade robe and subconsciously taking a step back. "Meet the Lord of the Supervision." Li Che's eyes narrowed. "Right, you have been a third-class guest official for a year now, and I specifically applied for you to have a chance to enter the mysterious temple to observe the temple god. Weren't you applying for the second-class guest official assessment? You must be aiming to challenge for the title of Jiao wood-carving master? To elevate one's skills as a master, one needs to observe the divine, so I applied for you to have a chance to enter the mysterious temple to observe the temple god," Gong Yunli explained while tilting her smooth, pale chin slightly. At her words, Li Che's eyes suddenly brightened. "To enter the mysterious temple? Is it the Three Princes Temple of the Wrathful Octo-Armed?" Li Che asked excitedly. Gong Yunli looked at Li Che as if he were a fool. "What are you thinking? Of course it can't be the Three Princes Mysterious Temple, that is one of the 4 royal mysterious temples, forbidden to any cultivator to enter," Gong Yunli said. "It's the other 2 of the 8 extreme Sgui temples outside the Mansion City, since both were conquered, they are under the control of the Temple Control Bureau." Chapter 305. The threat posed by the latter 2 isn't in the same league as the 4 royal Third Prince Mysterious Temple. Since it's regulated by the Temple Control Bureau, one must apply to enter the mysterious temple. Without an application and a temple entry order, trespassing into the mysterious temple is a great crime, and violators will be executed on the spot by the Temple Control Bureau. Gong Yunli led the way, taking Li Che toward the towering floors of the treasure tower. After climbing an unknown number of staircases, they finally stopped in front of a room, the lingering sound of an erhu emanating from within. "Every guest elder who wishes to enter the mysterious temple must meet the chief supervisor, who will examine whether you are a hidden chess piece of the corpse god cult. The corpse god cult is forbidden entry to the mysterious temple, because unlike other sects, they could become a serious threat to Great Vista, not only due to their multitude of powerful followers, but also because the corpse god cult is too ambitious. They enter the mysterious temple with the sole purpose of hunting temple gods." Upon hearing this, Li Che's eyes suddenly narrowed. Hunting temple gods? The corpse god cult harbored such audacious intentions? Creak! The door opened, and the sound of the erhu grew louder. Li Che even felt a slight tremor in the 7 wheels divine base within his mud pill palace, as if his divinity was somewhat uncontrollable. He frowned, his pure heart resisting the agitation. That restless feeling was then slowly suppressed. Gong Yunli led Li Che inside with respect. The erhu fell silent as the plain-clothed old man sitting on the stool slowly stood up. His gaze fell upon Li Che, and in that instant, Li Che felt as if he had been seen through completely. An extremely powerful force settled upon him in an instant. Intangible and unknowable, akin to a true deity. Primordial spirit. Li Che's heart turned cold. This was what Nan Luo referred to as the primordial spirit. It is the essential step for a Yuan phase cultivator who seeks to break through to the divine origin realm, giving birth to a primordial spirit. Once the primordial spirit emerges, one can traverse yin and yang and wander through the great void. Of course, it's said there are 2 types of primordial spirits, yin god and yang god. The chief supervisor is probably in the realm of the yin god. Unexpectedly, the chief supervisor of the Kintian Observatory seemed to be even stronger than Nan Luo. "Are you the third-class guest official Li Che?" The chief supervisor squinted his eyes at Li Che, a hint of surprise flickering through them. This young man? Has he perceived it? Did he sense the aura of his primordial spirit? Otherwise, why would this youngster's spirit suddenly grow tense? Moreover, the chief supervisor could clearly sense the aura of divine foundation on Li Che, as well as his extremely robust and formidable vital energy, yet this youngster seemed to be nothing more than an ordinary blood exchange warrior and a cultivation practitioner. Intuition told the chief supervisor that Li Che must be concealing his cultivation. This was the intuition of an old fox. The chief supervisor chuckled, "You should have been arranged to enter the mysterious temple and observe the temple gods earlier, to improve your wood-carving skills. But I have been delayed by some matters. Regarding your observation of the temple gods, I have approved it. Once I personally write a letter, you will be allowed to enter the mysterious temple. By the way, which temple do you wish to visit? Which temple god would you like to observe?" The chief supervisor said, smilingly. "You definitely can't go to the 4 royal Third Prince Mysterious Temple. You can only choose one of the 2 remaining 8 extremes mysterious temples, one temple god, known as the Fire Eye Mysterious Surprise Spirit Monkey Temple God, located 10 miles outside the Heart Monkey Temple. There's also another temple god, known as the Iron Crutch Joyful Mendicant Temple God, whose mysterious temple is closer to the Gold Split Gate. The chief supervisor listed the 2 mysterious temples and their respective temple gods as if recounting treasures. Which one will you observe? Upon hearing this, Li Che thought of the introduction that Sheng Guanqinghong had once given him. I choose the Fire Eye Mysterious Surprise Spirit Monkey Temple God outside the Heart Monkey Temple. Li Che replied, bowing with his hands clasped. The chief supervisor nodded, good, I am aware now. I will personally write a letter and send it to the Temple Control Bureau. The results will be out in about 5 days, and then you will receive the temple entry order. I will have Gong Xiaojian and Gong Yang Junior Supervisor accompany you to observe the temple god, the chief supervisor declared with a smile. Upon hearing this, Gong Yunli immediately objected, teacher. Why send Gong Yang Liancheng as well? I alone am enough. She, Gong Yunli, was at the stage of void phase complete. Taking a guest elder to an 8 extremes mysterious temple, was there really a chance for an incident to occur? The chief supervisor was at a loss for words and stroked his beard. This girl. When you accompany Li Che into the mysterious temple, do you think your teacher is worried about Li Che's safety? It's you that your teacher is worried about, little Gong. Discover hidden tales at Empire. After leaving from the Kintian Observatory Treasure Building, Li Che put on his broad-brimmed hat and, clad in a dark robe, walked down the snow-covered streets, glancing back at the treasure tower. He saw the chief supervisor at the top of the tower, standing by the railing. He was still wearing his humble clothing, with an erhu and a small stool by his side, smiling at him. Was I seen through? Li Che tugged at his hat brim and turned to leave. Perhaps. But being seen through is of no concern. These days, who isn't a shrewd operator? The chief supervisor narrowed his eyes, the smile on his face gradually fading. Then he raised his hands from behind his back, the fingers of his sealing hand intertwined as if twisted into a braid. This one has a strong fate. I almost sprained a muscle trying to calculate it. He's well hidden, could this young man be the bull demon? The chief supervisor pondered for a moment, then chuckled to himself. That would be logical. Only such a father could father Li Nuangzai, such a divine child. The chief supervisor smoothed out his cramping hand, ceasing his contemplation. In an instant, his figure disappeared. A short while later, in a corner of Mansion City, an old man wearing a felt hat and sitting on a small stool played the erhu, swaying to the music, with a small bowl with a chipped edge before him. Life isn't easy, the chief supervisor busked. Li Che returned to his independent workshop in Falling Flower Alley. The heaven and earth chessboard spread and enveloped it. Chapter 306. Thereafter, he sat in the courtyard, where his vital energy and divinity merged into dense ink. The Dao fruit of pure heart trembled, and in an instant, sheet after sheet of flawless white paper transformed from the pure heart floated in the courtyard. One after another, pure and spotless, these sheets seemed to vie with the snow swirling between heaven and earth. Li Che scanned the numerous immaculate sheets of divine paper. In the next moment, he flicked his finger. Strokes of dense ink, one after another, struck the pristine white paper with high speed. As if someone were painting with swift strokes, the rustling sound was relentless and dense. A short while later, Li Che stood up, stretched lazily, and then tore through the air with 2 fingers to retrieve his conical hat, the adorable cute bull mask, and the black robe that he wrapped around himself. His body swelled, towering like a mountain. He pressed down on the conical hat as the bull demon reappeared in the courtyard. Li Che snapped his fingers. Out of the pure heart drawing paper walked one after another burly figure. The black robes fluttered in the snowstorm. The downcast conical hats, all at the same time, were lifted, revealing one after another adorable cute bull masks. Yunfang Boat, the most luxurious brothel in Golden Light Prefecture City. The women here came in all shapes and sizes, plump or slender, demure or bold, intelligent or pity-inducing, all types were present, and each category had its warren. This captivated numerous second and third-tier clan juniors of Golden Light Prefecture City. That Yunfang Boat was backed by the Beggars sect was hardly a secret. Moreover, besides the Beggars sect, Yunfang Boat had the involvement of second-generation members from many noble families, the Si family, Qin family, Shangguan family, Gongyang family, and Palace family, all top-tier families from the Mansion City's second generation, wielded some influence here. This was also the biggest confidence of Yunfang Boat, the reason why many forces did not dare to cause trouble. Yunfang Boat, Jinfang Yuan. The entire courtyard covered a vast area, and its interior decoration was incredibly luxurious, truly glittering and dazzling, inducing a life of drunken stupor. And the leader of the beggars sect and the 9 bags elders resided within this courtyard, enjoying a life of extravagance. What beggars sect were they leading? They were living more comfortably than even an emperor. At this moment, inside Jinfang Yuan, the drawing room, the leader of the beggars sect was conversing with a corpse god envoy, who emanated a thick aura of death chi and corpse chi. The 8 absolute glamorous corpse technique, I have already perfected it. I sacrificed the lives of 365 perfect young girls, and finally mastered this technique, said the corpse god envoy. The leader of the beggars sect looked at the corpse god envoy with an intense gaze. Esteemed envoy, when will you pass on the 16 absolute glamorous corpse techniques to me? He asked. The 8 extremes corpse god envoy looked at the leader of the beggars sect, speaking in a ghostly voice. The 16 absolute glamorous corpse techniques are one of the ultimate teachings of our corpse god sect, and we will need to sacrifice 1,600 perfect young girls. The leader of the beggars sect narrowed his eyes. In these times, with so many refugees, just give them some food, some silver taels, there are plenty of them willing to sell their daughters. More than 1,000 is indeed quite a lot. But it's not impossible, said Hong Sixi, the leader's assistant, with a laugh. The sect master can indeed be cruel, but our sect appreciates such a realistic person like you, said the corpse god envoy. Has the leader completed the tasks arranged by our sect? He inquired. Hong Sixi gently tapped on the table. That Chen Dabao, the corpse chi and death chi on him have permeated into his body following your instructions, esteemed envoy. Once he sees Li Nuangzai for once, those corpse chi and death chi will automatically transform into the corpse curse mark, embedding into Li Nuangzai's body and manipulating that genius divine child. However, it seems Chen Dabao has noticed something amiss. He has resigned from his job and hasn't shown up for work for several days. He even secretly released a girl I was preparing for the glamorous corpse sacrifice. If this were the past, I would have broken Chen Dabao's legs and sunk his body in the 9 Dragons River by now. Unfortunately, he is still of use. He has a part to play in the plans of your esteemed envoy, so he can count himself lucky, said Hong Sixi as he stretched. Who says beggars can't lead a life of luxury? In this day and age, as long as one has cultivation and strength, one can live opulently as a beggar at the top, manipulating the life and death of others. Good. Once the corpse curse mark on Li Nuangzai becomes effective and we receive feedback, I will pass on the 16 absolute glamorous corpse techniques to you, replied the corpse god envoy as he stood up. He was about to leave. Black smoke began to emerge from behind him, point by point, as if black ink was diffusing through water. Suddenly, the masked corpse god envoy's heart gave a violent shudder. He saw that the chest of Hong Sixi, the leader of the beggars sect, suddenly burst open into a mist of blood. Then, with a howl of agony, another bullet, like a dragon tooth, pierced through Hong Sixi's skull. It blew his head to pieces, scattered like fireworks. Although Hong Sixi, who had not even achieved a minor accomplishment in the cursed copper corpse, was a godly phase initial realm cultivator, his physical defenses were disastrously weak. This is bad. The corpse god envoy realized what was happening in an instant. His chest caved in abruptly, and a coppery light burst forth. It was the cursed copper corpse that had been cultivated to a minor accomplishment. Bullets like dragon teeth shot out at high speed. And only then did a terrifying sonic boom shatter the air, unleashing towering sound waves that rolled forward. The eyes beneath the 8 extremes corpse god envoy's mask narrowed. Because 4 consecutive dragon tooth bullets pierced the same spot, finally breaching his cursed copper corpse and drilling into his body. The bullets exploded, and Bodhi silk writhed and spread like thousands of tendrils, prying his minor accomplishment cursed copper corpse's flesh apart with a continual clanging sound. Suddenly, a towering and robust figure, like a black tower, appeared before him with an oppressive presence. Bull Demon! The 8 extremes corpse god envoy bellowed. But that was all he could manage before he was silenced. A great halberd swept across fiercely, decapitating his head. With the minor accomplishment cursed copper corpse internally damaged and severely injured, its defense was horribly weak. Much easier to behead than Su Juking. The bull demon, in ascending stance, crushed and dominated, severing the head with a halberd strike. The terrifying true chi of the dragon elephant true force burst forth, grinding the corpse god envoy's head to dust, shattering it to pieces. Two godly phase initial realm cultivators, like meteors flashing across the sky, fell at a breakneck speed. In death, the two divine symbol cultivators didn't even have time to summon their divine symbols to form a defense. Thinking of plotting against XIXI, I, the bull demon, will slay all of you first. Go ahead, make your plans. The deep voice rose slowly. In the audience hall, two divine symbol cultivators perished violently. The sudden burst of divinity and the terrifying vitality almost instantly swept through like a hurricane. Inside Jinfang Yuan, the high-ranking members of the Beggars sect, who were enjoying the services of trained women, suddenly felt the dreadful pressure of divine hierarchy. An ambush. Instinctively, they scattered like birds startled by the twang of a bow, frantically fleeing outside Jinfang Yuan. Many powerful cultivators wanted to take to the skies, to escape through the air. However, the moment they started to fly, they froze mid-flight, enveloped by an endless chill, falling onto the ground in the courtyard. Because around the walls of Jinfang Yuan, surrounded by 16 towering figures wearing cute bull masks, each shouldering a huge contraption with 6 metallic tubes. Next to each bull demon floated a black wood raven, symbolic of death. Inside the house, Li Che gripped the flood dragon bone wind thunder halberd, leisurely looting the corpses of Hong Sixi and the 8 Extremes corpse god envoy. Under the mask, his lips curved slightly upward. Unlimited firepower. Clear the area. In an instant, Jinfang Yuan was engulfed by a hail of dense, countless golden light. Chapter 307. Boom, 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 boom. Countless golden fireworks exploded with brilliance, engulfing the entire Jinfang Yuan in an instant. The ground shook as untold amounts of dust rose like dark clouds rolling in the sky. Amongst the clouds, streaks of lightning like golden light roared furiously. 16 bull demons, carrying the immortal artisan Gatling that had been enhanced after many revisions. The wood ravens, replicated by the Dao fruit of the fairy in the painting, were bombarding recklessly. Such firepower coverage meant that even amongst the cultivators of Jinfang Yuan, those of the illusory phase level could hardly escape. It was an onslaught of firepower, hitting every direction. The Dao fruit of the fairy in the painting provided Li Che with an almost unlimited number of spirit wood ravens. With a flick of his brush, a new spirit wood raven would be created. The consumption of vitality and divinity by a single spirit wood raven was negligible, and even after drawing one, the vitality and divinity spent would have already recovered. The number of spirit wood ravens depended solely on how many Li Che wanted to create. He alone was an infinite military arsenal. Since the spirit wood ravens were personally created by Li Che, and he single-handedly developed the entire process. Hence, the fairy in the painting could replicate them near perfectly, with an identical effect. With 6 enhanced immortal artisan Gatlings firing simultaneously. Their prowess was far more breathtaking than a volley of myriad arrows. The dense smoke that rolled upwards formed a slowly rising mushroom cloud. Almost immediately, the entire Golden Light Prefecture city trembled. The commotion was nearly as arresting as the roaring clash of thunder in the heavens. Unless one was deaf, they could not fail to notice. Especially the Yunfang boat. Many flower girls and warrens, trembling, ran to the railings, looked out, and saw what had become, in their eyes, a nightmare, exploding. The sound of tearing through the air echoed incessantly from all directions. Illusory level experts from the 5 great clans, as well as the Divine Guard Army and the Temple Control Bureau of the Imperial Court Forces, were also alerted and quickly patrolled. Inside Jinfang Yuan, Li Che had a towering stature, holding the flood dragon bone wind thunder halberd in one hand, with wind and thunder twirling around the shaft, emitting a sizzling sound as it danced. He was controlling the heaven and earth chessboard, enveloping the entire Jinfang Yuan, not bothering to conceal his aura. Destroying the high-ranking scum of the Beggars sect. He didn't need to hide. It was the work of the bull demon, and he had nothing to fear in admitting it. The deeds of the Beggars sect, refining the glamorous corpse technique and colluding with the corpse god cult, deserved to be eradicated. Inside his chest, the Dao fruit of the chess saint throbbed vigorously. The purpose of opening the heaven and earth chessboard was for the sake of the pitiful girls who had been trained within the courtyard. They were too fragile, though many were specifically trained in the martial path to satisfy certain customers' fetishes. But under the firepower coverage of the spirit wood ravens, they were as frail as paper. Li Che protected them with the heaven and earth chessboard, directing the fire accurately, allowing the wood raven's firepower to automatically pass over them. It might scare them, but it was better than being reduced to smithereens, right? After 3 rounds of bombardment, under the sensation of the heaven and earth chessboard, the last trace of life was completely extinguished. Only then did the 16 bull demons cease their barrage. Clap, clap, clap. With coordinated movements, they ceased fire, retracted their guns, and came to a halt. Their cooperation even more perfect than the most rigorously trained army. Li Che pushed the broad hat on top of his head, held the halberd in one hand, and stepped forward, practicing the cloud harrier treading on clouds. He appeared to step on the mushroom cloud and rose to the high skies above the Yunfang boat. Li Che still maintained his ascending stance, his black hair flowing like a cape, his eyes shimmering with a faint golden mist. He stowed the flood dragon bone wind thunder halberd and suddenly raised his arms, aiming at the roiling mushroom cloud below. Ascending the tower. 1,000 analyzing hands. Boom. In a flash. The dense smoke churned violently, as if countless souls who died in the artillery fire, filled with bitterness and fury, coalesced into twisted faces that charged out of the dust. However, they all charged past Li Che's body, impotent to affect anything. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The next moment, the sounds of cleaving the air echoed, and out of the mangled corpses blasted by the bombardment, the divinity of countless corpses was drawn out. They coalesced into grey-black chess pieces, soaring into the sky, densely floating in front of Li Che. These are the raw materials for crafting the avalanche cross ravens later. His hair, hanging like a cloak down to his waist, whipped around sharply. Beneath the cute bull mask, Li Che's voice echoed lowly. While the echoes lingered between heaven and earth, they were suddenly shattered by an angry roar. In the distance, the ancestors from the 5 great clans, the divine ministers, soared into the air, their divinity overwhelming. Their rank oppression caused many cultivators to feel a chilling constriction in their breaths. 5 vast divine ministers, as if deities, escorted the ancestors as they rapidly crossed the sky. After all, inside that Jinfang Yuan, there were the 2nd-generation descendants of their 5 great clans. There were even quite a few of the illusory phase realm, the top forces of their families. The wind roared furiously. The mushroom cloud continued to rise unceasingly. It was small, but also quite cute. With a light tap from the bull demon's toe, he hovered in the air like a sparrowhawk. The many powerful figures rushing to the scene all halted, sensing a deep threat and horror. How could there be so many bull demons? Besides the central hovering bull demon, what on earth were those 16 bull demons standing on top of the high walls around Jinfang Yuan? Was this a hornet's nest that had been kicked? 17 bull demons, which one is real, which one is fake? Chapter 308. Can't tell. Simply can't tell. Even the formidable divine senses of divine symbol cultivators swept over, but they couldn't distinguish anything. Because these bull demons, whether in terms of aura or vital energy, were all startlingly uniform. Li Che calmly watched these clans from the 5 great noble families racing toward him. His eyes were deep and tranquil. Bull demon, have you lost your mind? Are you going to slaughter the entire Golden Light Prefecture city? Madman, a complete madman. A peerless fiend. Patriarch of the Qin family, Qin Dickon, had an extremely ugly expression, gritting his teeth and growling in anger. You wiped out the fishing gang, now you want to destroy the beggars sect. Next you'll slaughter the Black Jiao gang, then the 5 great clans, the 5 major sects, and finally rid the divine sect as well. The ancient ancestor of the High family said coldly. However, the only response they got was the bull demon's low chuckling. Underneath Li Che's mask, his face was filled with unbridled indifference, utterly unconcerned with the questioning and opinions of these clan ancestors. His low chuckle was like a smack to their faces, a humiliation. With a clench of his hand, all the divine chess pieces were gathered by Li Che into the heaven and earth chessboard. Then, his wild and crazed eyes from beneath the mask swept over the 5 clan ancestors. Li Che raised his hand and pointed distantly at each of the 5 ancestors, one after another. Among you, I know the secrets of some. Don't let me smell the corpse chi on you. The low, suppressive and willful voice of the bull demon echoed across the sky. Although he was in the process of assimilating the 7 origin corpse curse seal and was less sensitive to the death chi and corpse chi of corpse god cultists, he could still sense it. The 5 ancestors' expressions changed slightly, understanding the implication behind the bull demon's words. Boom! A streak of flowing light shot rapidly, the arrow arriving first, followed by a thunderous rumble. However, the arrow went straight through a bull demon, stirring up only a puff of black smoke. The remaining 16 bull demons all turned to look into the distance. They saw a slender figure standing on the roof of a building with upturned eaves at the direction of the city lord's mansion. The figure was pulling a longbow, frowning slightly. Fake. The divine archer Wen Longshan's mouth twitched, and then he drew the bowstring again, causing an earth-shattering noise to suddenly erupt. The ancestors of the 5 great clans looked horrified. That was the 7 elements divine archer from the state city, who was by mansion lord Suhueli's side. Every arrow contained extremely terrifying power. But all hit nothing. Because the bull demons he shot through all burst into black mist. Fake, all of them were fake. Li Che calmly watched Wen Longshan, a fleeting intent to kill flashing in his eyes. In this bull demon's little notebook, your name is written. The next moment, with a clenched hand, the thunder chess piece. In the eyes of many strong individuals, the bull demon simply vanished into thin air, teleporting away. As for the remaining bull demons, they all bang 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 exploded, turning into rolling black fog. Ran away. Just like that, escaped. How elusive is this bull demon? The ancestor of the Qin family, Qin Dickon, turned pale with shock. Such an opponent was truly a cause for sleepless nights. Atop the roof of the city lord's mansion, the divine bow set up by Wen Longshan was also slowly lowered. Bull demon, he murmured to himself. Which organization does it come from? To be so brazen. The ability to create more than a dozen clones with identical auras and vitality is truly eerie. And that horse face who could snipe from tens of miles away, through thin air. Which power does this organization belong to? Wen Longshan put away the longbow and stepped forward, returning to the idol pavilion in the yard. He broke the velvet rope that tied his hair, letting it cascade down. He only tied his hair when he shot arrows. Mansion Lord Suhueli was drinking tea and reading a book on the side. Since when did you become so interested to actually draw the bow to kill this villain, the bull demon? Suhueli spoke indifferently. I just found it interesting, that's all. Unfortunately, I didn't find its real body. This villain has very peculiar methods, quite intriguing. Wen Longshan said with a smile. The bull demon's aura was very strong. It must have stepped into the Grandmaster realm, with exceptionally robust vitality, and it used some kind of secret technique. As for divine cultivation, it was quite ordinary. Wen Longshan drank a sip of jade green winter tea, pondered for a moment, and laughed. If I sought its true body, at most 2 arrows would be needed to take its life. Suhueli chuckled lightly. You seem to think highly of this villain, the bull demon, even believing it would require you to shoot a second arrow. Save your arrows, in a few days, you shall have a satisfying shot. Wen Longshan raised an eyebrow. Oh? Is that Li Qingshan about to break through to the divine likeness? Suhueli nodded. Li Qingshan, with his ramhorn sky-breaking hammer in hand, is fierce and unparalleled. His martial path is extremely strong, and now he is in the Grandmaster posterior realm with a sturdy physique. But this man practices thunder exorcism, loathes evil as his foe. He has offended almost all the major powers in Golden Light Prefecture City. As you know, the bigger the power, the easier it is to harbor dirt, and Li Qingshan has hammered many of them clean. Those that were hammered now do not wish to see him break through into divine likeness. He's already so arrogant without it, what would happen if he obtained it? Wouldn't he turn Golden Light Prefecture City upside down? Li Qingshan does not accumulate a void aspect, wanting to step directly into divine likeness. He is within the top 10 of the Yunzhou Divine Foundation spectrum, and once he steps into divine likeness, he'll definitely reach the middle god phase realm, a tough character to deal with. Suhueli said quietly. But in my eyes, he's nothing but an ant that I can crush at will. I don't want Li Qingshan to successfully concentrate his divine likeness, purely to spite Nan Luo. Suhueli suddenly laughed softly. Let's see how long that old fox can endure. Wen Longshan glanced at Suhueli, unaware of the precise enmity between Nan Luo and Suhueli. Chapter 309. However, since he was dispatched from the Yun province army camp by Suhueli, he naturally wouldn't ask these questions. Suhueli closed the book and suddenly thought of something, saying, "Right, the young master will be arriving soon. You should go and escort him when he leaves the city. The young master is coming to Golden Light Prefecture City this time on a secret mission, hoping to try his luck at obtaining the inheritance of the 8-armed wrathful third prince, to acquire the 4 imperial divine arms suit from the temple god. If that is the case, the young master has a promising future as a divine fetus, surely becoming another powerful being at the level of King Pingluan." The young master? Wen Longshan's heart skipped a beat, and he instantly became somber. Is it really the 5-year-old young master, traveling such a long distance? Is it worth it? Wen Longshan took a deep breath. Suhueli shook his head. "Longshan, you still do not understand the importance of this 4 royal mysterious temple. The 3 princes temple of the wrathful octo-armed is not the same as the ordinary 4 royal mysterious temples, it is like the 3-eyed true lord's mysterious temple in the Lingnan Taoist city. It serves as a foundational mysterious temple for a sect of the path of God. The teacher holds this mysterious temple in high regard. Otherwise, would the teacher think it worth sending me here just for the likes of Nan Li Huo?" The dust was swept away by the fierce wind and suddenly scattered. Zhang Lianhao, the chief officer of the Temple Control Bureau, wearing a black and red robe, landed in the courtyard, followed by the leaders of the Divine Guard Army, the elders of the 5 great clans, and other masters. The mushrooming dust was cleared by the divine wine they summoned. Suddenly, the scene inside Jin Fang Yuan was revealed. Zhang Lianhao's face twitched as he saw a dense mass of corpses scattered across the ground. The upper echelon of the Beggars sect, the 2nd generation of the 5 great clans, many high-ranking officials from Golden Light Prefecture, had all been reduced to tattered skeletons. How cruel! This bull demon is truly a peerless demon. Such a lawless villain, completely disregarding the Temple Control Bureau and the Divine Guard Army. The elders from the noble families, seeing their own 2nd-generation descendants turned into battered skeletons, felt their anger burning. Zhang Lianhao's hairs stood on end. This bull demon, it's getting stronger too fast. Before, when dealing with the subordinate forces of the Sheyu gang, they had to come one by one, but now it has directly attacked the headquarters of the Beggars sect. Zhang Lianhao remained silent, suddenly concentrating his thoughts. He burst forth with power from his feet, launching himself into the battered courtyard, sniffing the air filled with the smell of gunpowder. He saw several young girls, scantily clad and looking terrified yet beautiful, timidly walking out of the houses. These girls looked at the corpses scattered all over the courtyard. Suddenly, they were no longer afraid, but instead, tears fell like pearls. Some clapped their hands in madness, some covered their mouths and wept, others knelt on the ground wailing. Zhang Lianhao suddenly felt bewildered. The hand resting on the standard-issue divine weapon sword at his waist felt somewhat at a loss. Was this the dark secret of the Beggars sect? Zhang Lianhao's face slightly reddened, a surge of anger welling up inside him. Yet, he felt powerless because the Temple Control Bureau's main focus had been on the mysterious temple. This Beggars sect clearly had the involvement and protection of the city lord's mansion forces. "I'm sorry." Looking at each scantily clad young girl, Zhang Lianhao, a 40-year-old virgin, couldn't help but feel guilty and choked up. At the same time, he couldn't help but admire the bull demon. Thinking of what he had heard about the bull demon from Feilei City. The lone hero, the bull demon, hey? It seems, his reputation is well deserved. I envy the bull demon's freedom. He turned and ran into the conference hall. He then saw the assassinated leader of the Beggars sect, Hong Sixi, and the beheaded 8 Extremes corpse god envoy. Zhang Lianhao furiously drew his sword, anger churning. The Beggars sect colluded with the traitorous corpse god cult. They must be punished. Falling Flower Alley, a small workshop courtyard. Li Che silently returned, the flakes of snow falling from the sky landing on his shoulders, instantly vaporized by his vigorous blood qi. Standing with his hands hanging by his side in the courtyard, Li Che closed his eyes to calm the overwhelming killing intent within his heart. The Beggars sect was no more. All high-ranking members had been wiped out by him in one swoop, and Jin Fang Yuan, including the divine minister of the Beggars sect, Hong Sixi, the Void Aspect deputy leaders, and the 9 Bags elder, all of whom he had wiped out in one fell swoop. Their evil deeds made them unworthy of living. This Hong Sixi actually practiced the glamorous corpse technique, the 8 absolute glamorous corpse technique, sacrificing 365 young girls. Li Che felt that the darkness of this world was deeper than he had imagined. The spirit infant sect of Fei City, the glamorous corpse technique within Golden Light Prefecture City. And the root of all evils was the evil secret technique's origin, the corpse god cult. Old Chen's troubles have also been resolved. A burst of freedom has also been vented from my chest. Li Che stretched, bones cracking all over. His mind sank into the heaven and earth chessboard, with countless divine chess pieces floating within it. All of these were the divinities of the cultivators he had killed. To him, their effectiveness in helping was not even as good as the pure divinity cultivation effects found in the divine crystals. But Li Che still didn't waste them, collecting them all. Must make use of them. Avalanche cross-raven bullets can be developed, and additionally, even more terrifying artillery shells can be developed. Li Che raised his hand, and a hidden weapon, the Guanyin Blood Lotus, appeared in his hand. This hidden weapon was no longer of much help to the current Li Che. Even lesser than the 1,000 spider threads, if the right materials were found, the 1,000 spider threads could have an extremely strong killing effect. But the Guanyin Blood Lotus, even if all its millions of wooden needles were tempered with poison, could hardly hurt a Grand Master, a void aspect. It had become somewhat superfluous and needed upgrading and improvement. Chapter 310. The immortal artisan Dao fruit within his chest began to tremble slightly. Li Che's mind began to ponder the upgrade path for the Guanyin Blood Lotus, leaning towards the root of firepower coverage. Incorporate the prototype of divine powers, Chess Saint Great Avalanche into the Guanyin Blood Lotus. The Guanyin Blood Lotus originally concealed millions of fine needles as thin as bull hair, so by that logic, I can replace the millions of bull hair wooden needles with divinity chess pieces. Hide 100 divine chess pieces, hide 1,000 divine chess pieces, and then hurl them out, to explode with the body of the Guanyin Blood Lotus. The power of the great avalanche contained within the divine chess pieces. I'm afraid it would set off a very, very big firework. So, I still need to make a launcher, paired with Dynamo Immortal Artisan Great Avalanche Guanyin Lotus Bullet. Li Che fell into deep thought, considering the difficulty and feasibility of the creation. The power of the divine chess pieces triggered by the Great Avalanche technique is related to the strength of the divinity itself. There's a lot to explore here. But I don't need to concern myself with these details. It's just a matter of adjusting the yield of the divine chess pieces. Li Che sat down cross-legged on the snowy ground of the yard. He raised his hand, and a piece of wood shot towards him, which he grasped in his hand. The carving knife slid out, and at the same time, true qi swept out, evaporating the moisture from the wood. Shasha shasha. Li Che began to carve with full concentration. Then, with a move of his mind, he tried to compress a divine chess piece into one of the wooden needles that made up the Guanyin Blood Lotus. However, it wasn't easy. Li Che finally settled for enlarging some of the wooden needles to accommodate the divine chess pieces. After several revisions, Li Che gradually completed the first generation Avalanche Guanyin Lotus Bullet. Since it was the first attempt, Li Che only loaded it with about 60 divinity chess pieces. And they were all divine base realm divinity chess pieces. The yield of 60 pieces isn't very impressive. A yield of 100 divine chess pieces, 1,000, 10,000 divine chess pieces. Even, 1,000,000 divine chess pieces. Could it make me witness that huge firework in this world, engraven in the depths of the soul and capable of seizing heaven and earth's creation? Li Che couldn't help but think of the towering mushroom cloud that rose high. His body shivered uncontrollably. Suddenly, his mind stirred. The light before his eyes flickered. Dao Fruit, Immortal Artisan LV 3,90%. The maturity of the Immortal Artisan Dao Fruit suddenly increased from 86% to 90%. Was it because he had improved the Guanyin Blood Lotus, or was it due to that dazzling, earth-shattering concept in his mind? Perhaps both, but undoubtedly this was very exhilarating for Li Che. I wonder, what kind of transformation will occur when the Dao Fruit reaches LV4? Li Che was very curious and anticipatory. Li Che glanced at the sky, took out the Kyunkan Jade of the head of the Beggars sect and that corpse god envoy, killing and looting, a practice Li Che was now quite adept at. Since he had just struck it rich once, and because the head of the Beggars sect had exhausted his resources in cultivating the glamorous corpse technique and was so poor he clinked as he walked, poorer than a typical divine base cultivator. The harvest of that 8 extremes corpse god envoy, however, turned out to be quite modest. Unperturbed, such levels of wealth could no longer stir Li Che's inner calm. Li Che sat cross-legged in the yard, his pure heart divinity coalescing into paper as he began to splash ink on it to create a design. The avalanche Guanyin lotus bullet was ready, but a launching device still needed to be well developed. The first generation Guanyin sitting on a lotus main battle tank? Li Chei's eyes sparkled. He thought of Wen Longshan, the divine archer perched atop the city lord's mansion, who had drawn his bow and shot that terrifying arrow which split the sky. Divine archer? I'll give you a chance to experience the cannon fire power of the Guanyin lotus main battle tank. Is it your arrow that's fierce? Or is it my great avalanche lotus bullet cannon that's fierce? Within range, Guanyin is the truth. Snowflakes drifted down from the sky. Li Chei, who had just eradicated the beggars' sect, was buzzing with activity in the courtyard, driven by his grand ambition to watch the fireworks. Old Chen had been waiting for news at Zhanglei Peak. He kept drawing on his dry pipe incessantly, his heart filled with uneasy apprehension. Lu Qi was cultivating in the courtyard and, seeing old Chen pacing back and forth restlessly, he felt a nuisance. Grandpa Chen, you're disturbing my cultivation. Can't you pace in your own courtyard? Lu Qi said somewhat helplessly. His teacher, Li Qingshan, was in seclusion, and Lu Qi knew that the teacher was at a critical moment. He also wanted to cultivate hard to improve his strength, hoping not to hold the teacher back. I'm just worried. Have you found out what happened to the beggars' sect? Old Chen asked. Lu Qi rolled his eyes and dusted off his clothes. All right, I'll go and inquire for you. A moment later, Lu Qi ran back at high speed. Chen Dabao, sitting on the doorstep smoking, sprang up immediately upon seeing the rushing Lu Qi. Did you get any news? Old Chen took a deep breath, asking anxiously. Lu Kai's face was flush with a red glow, his small body emitting steam continuously. That was excitement, that was agitation. I've got news. The bull demon made a move on the beggars' sect this morning. I hear the commotion was massive, alarming the Temple Control Bureau, the Divine Guard Army, the diviner ancestors of the 5 great clans. Behind Yunfang Boat, Jinfang Yuan, the top ranks of the beggars' sect, second-generation descendants of noble families, some high officials and dignitaries, all annihilated. The leader of the beggars' sect, the deputy leader, the 9 bags elder, all dead. The entire beggars' sect, shattered and dispersed. Old Chen, just as you wished. The beggars' sect, is gone. Old Chen was stunned. He sat down on the ground with a thud, his hand clutching the stem of his dry pipe trembling uncontrollably. No. He had thought the bull demon was just going to rescue the girls held captive by the beggars' sect in the courtyards, and incidentally kill a few of their villains, stir up some trouble, expose the beggars' sect's misdeeds. But the result? The bull demon had wiped out the beggars' sect entirely. Chapter 311. Golden Light Prefecture, Zhanglei Peak. Above the cloud dome, dark clouds piled thick, with blue lightning rolling within. The falling snowflakes were directly evaporated by the lightning into mist, hazy in the high altitude. In Zhanglei Peak, the small courtyard where Li Qingshan resided. It had long since become a sealed area. No one was allowed to approach it casually, for the divine majesty here was too strong. Even a cultivator who had achieved divine base perfection would feel breathless, as if their entire body was being weighed down. Faintly, countless divinity nearly twisted into substance, as if to completely coalesce into the likeness of a deity. A divine temple towered. Inside the temple, the statue of the deity that performed thunder exorcism was entwined with innumerable lightning serpents drawn down from the heavens. Li Qingshan, dressed in a green robe, sat cross-legged on the meditation cushion. The inner scene of his energy center in the brow nuan emitted a faint glow. His entire figure seemed to be outlined as if he were a sculpture of the divine likeness. He had not gathered the void aspect, planning to leap directly to the realm of divine likeness in one go. Li Qingshan had tempered his thunder exorcism divine base for a long time. His round of 6 ministries divine base was extremely terrifying, ranking 7th on the Yunzhou divine foundation spectrum. Originally, Li Qingshan had planned to directly strike for the 6 ministries godly aspect on the basis of the 6 ministries divine base. But his flesh was utterly incapable of bearing it, and he had no choice but to settle for the next best, sculpting the 7 elements divine visage. Later, he would slowly cultivate the divine visage, pushing the rank of the divine likeness to a higher level. Slowly opening his eyes, arcs of lightning seemed to move in Li Qingshan's pupils. A single step behind, and every step lags. Cultivation requires fighting and competing. Too much caution, and I might miss my chance. Li Qingshan muttered to himself. He exhaled a breath and stood up. Countless bolts of lightning pulled at his body, as if to make his hair stand on end. Soon, Li Qingshan could feel that he was about to sculpt the divine likeness. He shook his head slightly. I wonder if I can successfully sculpt it. Most likely many people do not wish for me to easily sculpt it, it's dangerous. But even if I fail, it doesn't matter, I'm already content. Before sculpting the divine likeness, I went to Feilei City, found Nurse Momo, and now my heart has no regrets. Li Qingshan, with his hands behind his back, strolled around the top of the mountain near the divine temple. The breeze was silent and cold, the harsh winter biting. The flying snow could not approach, for the divine temple was surrounded by darting lightning, forming an invisible repulsive field. Suddenly, Li Qingshan saw a figure with a python head cane, carrying a lunch box, making her way step by step up the bluestone mountain path from halfway up the mountain. It was the aged Nurse Momo. Her youthful and lovely beauty had faded, but Li Qingshan's eyes were filled with tenderness. Nurse Momo arrived at the divine palace, saw Li Qingshan resting, and smiled as she lifted the lunchbox. The two elders sat down at the stone table and chairs next to the divine temple, and Nurse Momo served up steaming dishes from the lunchbox. My cooking skills aren't good. I learned a few things from Xiaoye. You'll just have to make do. I still remember the days you teased me about my cooking, Nurse Momo said, glaring at Li Qingshan. Li Qingshan rubbed his hands together and chuckled. Back then, your cooking really was terrible. You could turn a fish into charcoal when grilling, you put a live fish directly into the pot for boiled fish. When I lifted the lid, the fish was still energetically flipping its tail in the pot, recalled Li Qingshan, unable to help but laugh. Nurse Momo glared, fuming with anger. What do I need cooking skills for, being a daughter of the martial world? I'm not running a restaurant. Li Qingshan laughed heartily, and the two began to eat and drink. The dishes tasted average, but Li Qingshan savored every bite. Oh, by the way, the beggar's sect is gone today, taken down by the bull demon alone. All the high-ranking members of the beggar's sect were slaughtered without exception, it's said they even colluded with the corpse god cult. Ah, it's said that the Temple Control Bureau rescued thousands of pitiful girls from the Jinfang Yuan, it's just. When Nurse Momo mentioned this, she was filled with righteous indignation. As a young woman who had traveled the martial world, she had a heart of chivalry and could not bear to see such sorrowful events. Li Qingshan, however, slammed down his chopsticks, beating his chest and stomping his feet with profound grief. He had missed out again. That bull demon, always hogging the spotlight. Acting alone and tackling major events. What about the green elegant oxen and horses combo they had agreed upon? You can't drop the green and only keep the elegant oxen and horses. Of course, Nurse Momo had heard about Li Qingshan's collaboration with the bull demon. Seeing old Li's antics, she couldn't help but laugh. You should focus on successfully gathering the divine likeness. Otherwise, the bull demon won't want to play with you anymore. Li Qingshan sighed. Right, now gathering the divine likeness was most important. There were many things he had been unable to do before. Breaking through to the divine likeness would allow him to be more unrestrained. For example, this incident with the beggar's sect. He had heard about it long ago, but it was too widespread. The beggar's sect was only part of it. There were also the 5 great clans, the 5 major sects, and quite a few officials and nobles. Li Qingshan planned to wait until he had achieved the divine likeness before dealing with it. He hadn't expected the bull demon to act first. No matter, it is all between our own people. As a member of the green elegant oxen and horses combo, what the bull demon has done is almost equivalent to my own actions. Li Qingshan consoled himself. So, you must succeed. Only by breaking through to the divine likeness can you do many things you previously didn't dare to do. Nurse Momo propped up her chin, speaking softly. I believe in you, you can definitely succeed. Back then, so many of us walked the martial world together, now, only you and I remain. Li Qingshan fell silent. The waves of the martial world were harsh, some died, some disappeared. So, survive, Nurse Momo said gently, touching Li Qingshan's face. Chapter 312. Li Qingshan nodded. You must guarantee it, Nurse Momo said. I guarantee it, Li Qingshan grinned, raised his hand, and gently tapped on Nurse Momo's forehead, causing her to faint. Li Qingshan quietly finished all the food, leaving not a single grain of rice behind. Lu Qi ran over, panting. Teacher. Take your nurse Momo to XIXI's home, and you follow along too. From now on until I break through to become Divine Minister, you must not go anywhere else, just stay at XIXI's place. Li Qingshan instructed. Liu Qi was taken aback. Is it that serious? With the teacher's talent, is it really so difficult to condense the Divine Minister? Li Qingshan stood up, his muscles and bones crackling loudly with just a single movement, as if the action had provoked the thunder in the heavens, causing it to grow angry. If I were to fall, I would have you adopted by the sect master, letting him take you as a nominal disciple. The temple god resonance initially had exceptional results with you, you should have joined the sect master's sect, but you insisted on following me. These years, I have not taught you much. I do not wish to delve into your origins, but as long as Liu Qi remains a disciple of Li Qingshan for one day, you're my disciple for life. Li Qingshan's eyes rarely showed such tenderness as he gazed at Liu Qi. He patted Liu Kai's big head. Go now, big head Liu. Listening to Li Qingshan's words, which sounded like a last will and testament, Liu Kai's eyes immediately brimmed with tears. Master, you must survive. Wait for your disciple to fulfill his filial duties to you. Liu Qi knelt on the ground, his expression on his large head very serious. Li Qingshan scoffed, bullshit, of course I have to live, who wants to die if they can live? By the way, if I die and you are adopted by the sect master, you will become XIXI's little junior brother. Liu Kai's expression stiffened, and then his eyes flickered. Wouldn't he be like a fish in water then? Li Qingshan immediately broke out in laughter. You little rascal are tempted. Bugger off. I'd die of filial piety because of you. Watching Liu Qi leave with Nurse Momo, Li Qingshan stood with his hands behind his back on the mountain peak. He knew there were too many people in Golden Light Prefecture City who did not want him to achieve Divine Minister status. Especially after the issue with the Bull Demon. The Bull Demon's recklessness and arrogance had already caused enough trouble for the nobles and higher-ups of Golden Light Prefecture City. If there were to be another one who stepped into Divine Minister status, one who could be just as insolent as Li Qingshan, those people definitely couldn't accept it. Li Qingshan stood with his hands behind his back, basking in the cold winter wind. Suddenly, the skin on his face twitched. Why hasn't Li Che contacted me? What exactly did Horseface say? He couldn't have stood me up, right? Frost flowers with snow adorn the mountainside, icicle beads glisten on green willow branches. On a winter's day with heavy snow flying, the long street was cold and clear. Crystal clear ice beads shone brightly on the green willow branches lining both sides of the street. Inside Falling Flower Alley's courtyard, it was surprisingly lively, with figures flickering about. In the courtyard, Li Che sat cross-legged at the center, pinching an 8 Extremes divinity crystal in his hand, sitting in a cross-legged meditation, eyes closed, nurturing his nature. A faint radiance surfaced within the inner scene of his brow energy center. The pure heart Dao fruit within his chest throbbed powerfully, unleashing a strong suction force, frantically drawing out the divinity from the 8 Extremes divinity crystal. Then, he brought it into the Dao fruit within and infused it onto the pure heart divine foundation that floated in his inner scenery. When an 8 Extremes divine crystal was drained, the divine crystal turned into a transparent crystal stone, and Li Che opened his eyes, as faint white smoke seemed to drift from his pupils. He glanced at the crystal stone and with a fierce clasp of his fingers, a resounding roar of his powerful bones echoed, hot waves of air spread from the center of his body, gathering 1,000 piles of snow. The divine crystal instantly turned into powder. Divine crystal powder can suppress the power of divinity. When we previously eradicated the high ranks of the beggars sect in Jinfang Yuan, divine crystal powder bullets were used, the exploded powder suppressed the activation of divinity. Those few illusory phase cultivators could not even resist and were overwhelmed by gunfire. So, there is still much room for research on divine crystal powder, if it's combined with the prototype of divine power's great avalanche, and integrated into the Guanyin lotus bullets, the explosions will suppress fire power, all while inhibiting a cultivator's divinity. Utterly malicious and sharp. Li Che chuckled in admiration of his own concept, so he carefully stored the divine crystal powder. These were research resources, not to be wasted. With a thought, light flickered before his eyes. Dao fruit, pure heart, LV3, 12%. He exhaled a breath of turbid air. After absorbing the divinity of an 8 Extremes divine crystal, it now only raised the maturity by 5%. The effect had greatly reduced, it could only mean that the appetite of the pure heart Dao fruit was getting pickier. If I could acquire a 7 yuan divinity crystal, the first absorption would definitely have an excellent effect. Li Che could not help but look forward to it. And now, the only way for him to obtain a 7 yuan divinity crystal was to cooperate with Nan Li Huo and assassinate Mansion Lord Su Huai. Within the small courtyard, Li Che cultivated martial arts for a while, and studied the new True Intent Ultimate Study Lu Xian Sword Scripture. In a few days, he should be able to master it, and then he could merge it into myriad transformations Dragon Elephant. His surging lifeblood gradually retracted, and his imposing body returned to calm. Swordsmanship doesn't seem to suit me very well. As the bull demon transforms, angry Vajra grows to a height of 2 meters 2, wielding a great halberd is just right, using a sword feels like Zhongfei embroidering. Wielding a halberd is what really satisfies. After cultivating a bit more, Li Che left the courtyard of Falling Flower Alley. He left behind 8 fairy in the painting clones in the courtyard, 7 of which were single divine foundation clones, used to cultivate their nurturing nature. Li Che wasn't stingy either, and gave each clone a 9 luminaries divine crystal. Chapter 313 8 Extremes Divinity Crystal. Li Che planned to keep it for his own use to improve the maturity of the pure heart. Although the effect was greatly reduced, it was still a case of slow and steady wins the race. Another avatar from the painting fairy was arranged to be involved in the research and development of Guanyin Lotus main battle tank, following the design philosophy of the mechanism. Spiritual wood is insufficient. If we want to create the Guanyin Lotus main battle tank, we need a large amount of spiritual wood materials. Of course, once it's made, we can directly use the Dao fruit of the painting fairy to replicate it, but the initial investment in research and development is still necessary. We need to select the types of spiritual wood, requiring those with high toughness and strength. Li Che was summarizing his spontaneous research and development ideas. Spiritual wood. To obtain high-quality spiritual wood, a trip to Divine Carving Ridge is necessary. Senior Qing Shan has always said he would take me there. After he condenses his divine minister, he should be able to bring me along. Although the Heavenly Oversight guest official had channels to obtain spiritual wood, to get high-grade spiritual wood, one could only go to Divine Carving Ridge. In fact, according to Shangguan Qinghong, the source of spiritual wood for Kintian Observatory also came from Divine Carving Ridge. After arranging all the work and ensuring his painting fairy avatars were diligently focused, he leisurely went to the small fly tavern in the alleyway, packed some food, and brought it back. He returned to the gate of Divine Sect Mountain. First, Li Che went to Golden Light Peak to pick up XIXI from school. On the vast expanse of Golden Light Peak, heavy snow fluttered down. XIXI, so little, was training martial arts on the expanse, with her chi and blood roaring, and tiny bloody Jia serpents seemed to fiercely swirl around her. Around her neck, the Qian Yuan diamond circle whistled as it rotated, skillfully manipulated by XIXI. In addition, XIXI was holding a mystical gold short sword divine weapon in her hand, a 9 luminaries divine weapon. Combined with the ultimate study Mystic Thunder Golden Light Killing Sword technique, she executed the technique amidst the wind and snow with golden light splitting the sky, creating an impressively loud ruckus. Li Che watched quietly from a distance, looking at XIXI practicing martial arts, a smile unconsciously lifting the corners of his lips. The little bundle of joy is getting stronger without even noticing. And her martial arts talent, it seems truly exaggerated. The ultimate study, she has actually already entered the threshold. At the age of 4, True Intent Ultimate Study entered the threshold. This is the stature of a great grandmaster. Li Che thought. When XIXI finished practicing swordplay, she saw Li Che waiting quietly in the distance. Daddy! The little one happily showed a smile, trotting over with her short legs at full speed. With a final leap, like a forcefully kicked soccer ball, whoosh, she was launched towards Li Che. Li Che laughed heartily, and with a grab, he caught the little girl. Nowadays, Li Che possessed the furnace grandmaster physique, and catching XIXI, who came at him like a tackled soccer player, was not much of a challenge at all. Go say goodbye to your teacher Yin Yin. Li Che teased XIXI's little nose and said. In the distance, Sang Guanyin stood in a goose yellow long dress amidst the white snow, serene and graceful, waving goodbye to XIXI. He took XIXI back to Zhanglei Peak. All the way, XIXI chattered non-stop, as if she had endless things to say and inexhaustible energy. Back in the courtyard, Li Che sensed Nurse Momo who had passed out. Li Che raised an eyebrow, and Liu Qi provided an explanation. Li Che nodded, then she will stay for the next few days, until Senior Qing Shan successfully condenses his divine minister. It should be within these 1 or 2 days. Li Qing Shan knocked out Nurse Momo because he didn't want to worry her and thereby distract her. However, isn't Li Qing Shan afraid that Nurse Momo will settle scores after she wakes up? Zhang Yu was also training in the courtyard. Since her bone tempering, she still couldn't withstand her husband's slightly serious effort, and she began to aspire higher with high spirits. Training in the martial path requires a goal. Once one has a goal, the motivation will be complete. Li Che took out the food he had packed and called everyone to eat together. 2 days passed amidst the accumulating snowflakes. The next night was deep. The night sky was profound and dark with clouds rolling, but above Zhanglei Peak, innumerable thunder serpents intertwined and flickered, faintly reflecting splendid brilliance. From time to time they even turned the sky as bright as day. After eating dinner, Li Che entered his study. Thereafter, using the Dao fruit of the painting fairy, he drew out 2 avatars. One remained in the study to carve wood carvings. The other, transformed into a bull demon, rushed towards the summit of Zhanglei Peak. His real body, grasping a thunder chess piece, appeared in the courtyard of Falling Flower Alley. The black scholar's robe flapped in the snowy night's wild wind. Inside the courtyard, 8 avatars of the painting fairy were completely engrossed in cultivation and research, bustling with activity. Li Che looked up, watching the snowflakes drift down from the sky. Accompanying the growls of thunder, countless interwoven thunders stretched across the firmament, radiating bright light and heat. The snowflakes were melting away. Turning into warm raindrops, they fell onto the human world with a pitter-patter. A drop of rain fell on Li Che's cheek, carrying a slight tingling sensation as electric arcs surged through it. This is... Li Che's eyes subtly changed, and he involuntarily concentrated. The 6 ministries' godly aspect. Not the 7 elements hanging thoughts thunderquake exorcising Vajra divine visage. Senior Qing Shan is not content with condensing the 7 elements divine visage and is attempting to leap towards the 6 ministries' godly aspect. Li Che exhaled a breath. Really, not the least bit prudent. But then again, that's Senior Qing Shan for you. In this life, who would choose to be mediocre? Golden Light Peak. The melted snow turned into warm raindrops, seeming to hide trembling arcs of lightning. Falling from the heavens, crashing into the human world. Nan Luo's white hair flew wildly as he extended his hand to catch a raindrop, which unexpectedly levitated in his palm. Chapter 314. Raindrops streaked with arcs of lightning, resembling furious thunderous jiaishe. Li Qing Shan really does not wish to solidify the 7 elements divine visage, but to condense the 6 ministries godly aspect. After observing the divine so long, surpassing the void aspect and stepping into divine likeness, and now to condense the 6 ministries godly aspect. What a spirit! Nan Luo smiled warmly. Meanwhile, beside the divine palace, a Taoist was leading a little fatty who wouldn't stop smacking his lips as they too observed the raindrops falling from heaven. My fellow disciple, it seems that Golden Light Prefecture has produced a capable person. I had heard the name of Li Qing Shan even in Dao City. Ranked 7th in the Yunzhou Divine Foundation spectrum, he's quite a notable figure in Dao City, too. The Taoist said with a laugh. Smack, smack. As soon as the Taoist had finished speaking, the little fatty beside him chewed on some dried mutton, making a faint sound. Stop eating, mind your image. The Taoist glared. The little fatty immediately paused, nodding seriously, and pursed his lips to go on moving his mouth internally. The chewing sound decreased substantially. Nan Luo immediately burst into laughter. Brother, your disciple is really quite interesting. The Taoist collected his demeanor and stroked his beard leisurely. Not bad, he's a divine child, come to try if he can trigger the temple god resonance of the 3rd Prince Temple. Nan Luo nodded. Brother, would you like to make a move tonight? Nan Luo looked toward the sky and suddenly asked. The Taoist was speechless. Junior brother, are you putting your senior brother in a difficult position? The little fatty, not knowing when, had grabbed a large flatbread, took a bite, and mumbled a word. Coward. The Taoist was irritated. Nan Luo laughed and waved his hand. All right, I won't trouble senior brother. But senior brother, it's been many years since our last meeting. Help me by going to the 3rd Prince's mysterious temple, assisting the governor's office Xiejing in guarding the mysterious temple. Can that work? Upon hearing this, the Taoist stroked his beard and nodded, guarding the mysterious temple, that's not an issue, but as for fighting and killing, you know well. Brother, I don't like these things. Nan Luo pursed his lips and nodded, saying no more. This Taoist was Wang Kuyu, from the Ganyuan Orthodox sect of Lingnan Taoist City. Bringing the divine children and spirit children from Dao City to participate in the quest for temple god resonance. Nan Luo indeed would not cause the Taoist difficulty. Tonight might not remain tranquil. If Li Qingshan chose to break through the seven elements divine visage realm, there would be obstruction and sabotage, but it wouldn't be too violent. If it couldn't be done, perhaps those people would retreat. But if Li Qingshan were to solidify the six ministries' godly aspect. Once the six ministries' godly aspect was formed, Li Qingshan might be able to step into the post-divine phase in one go. Then all the forces would truly go mad. City Lord's Mansion. Su Huili squinted his eyes, feeling the evaporating moisture of the raindrops that had fallen on the ground, his eyebrows raised. Quite the daring sheephorn Li Qingshan, certainly bold-hearted. The divine archer Wen Longshan held a raindrop, sensing the thunder within. The six ministries' godly aspect, truly daring. Can his body withstand the impact of the divine power from the six ministries' godly aspect? He might just be directly crushed by the divine power. Wen Longshan curled his lips. Six ministries' godly aspect. Even he had only managed to break through with seven elements divine visage. The art Li Qingshan cultivates, the golden light sub-sex 8 flood dragons overturning the rivers, can already successfully condense 3 Qi blood Xian dragons, meeting the major accomplishment standard, barely enough to give it a try. Su Huili stated. Whether it's possible or not, I don't want Li Qingshan to succeed. Upon hearing this, Wen Longshan bowed, clenched his fist, and a glittering divine bow immediately appeared in his hand. By your command. The very next moment, Wen Longshan's figure blurred and vanished. This night, silence haunted eerily. The entire Golden Light Prefecture city seemed to plunge into a deathly quiet, a terrible oppressive feeling sweeping across the entire city. Even the penned-up dogs dared not bark recklessly. Shangguan family estate. The Shangguan family's old ancestor, Shangguanji, dressed in black, stood in the courtyard. His hair had completely turned white. In just a few days, he was completely worn out. Shangguan Zhengheng had died, Shangguan King Glai too had died, and 2 days ago, a second-generation descendant, the heir apparent, had also been killed by the bull demon. Misery, why did it always pursue his Shangguan family? Li Qingshan. Shangguanji exhaled slowly, carefully placing a fierce ghost mask over his face. Wanting to break into divine likeness, wishful thinking. Kill my son, and pay with your life. Meanwhile, other noble families, 5 major sects, and the Black Jiao Gang, all had divine experts in night clothes, wearing masks going out. The trend of committing crimes while wearing masks, having risen with the bull demon's fame, had spread from Feilei City to Golden Light Prefecture City. Outside Golden Light Prefecture City, 9 Dragons River churned unrestfully, as if agitated, like there was some hidden monster about to break free from its cage. Downstream of 9 Dragons River, the raging waters roared incessantly. Suddenly, dense black mist started to form and slowly gathered into a black smoke whirlpool. A figure emerged from the black smoke whirlpool. A white robe fluttered, his face covered with a mask bearing a large, blood-written 7. It was a septenary corpse god envoy. Li Qingshan. The eyes beneath the corpse god envoy's mask flickered. This man must die if he consolidates the 6 ministries' godly aspect and steps into the divine likeness realm. He will surely become a stumbling block to our sect's operations in Golden Light Prefecture City. The next moment, this septenary corpse god envoy crouched on the river surface. He took out a blood-colored jade vase from Kyunkan Jade. Inside the jade vase, an extremely hot energy surged fiercely, wild, arrogant, and tyrannical divine fluctuations continuously spreading out. Chapter 315. Invisible ripples, with the corpse god envoy's feet at the center, ceaselessly spread outwards. And then, the corpse god envoy set the blood-colored jade vase on the river surface. With a muffled thud, the blood-colored jade vase was suddenly yanked into the river as if by a tremendous force. The 7 elements corpse god envoy's toes lightly tapped the river surface, creating ripples. And the whole person leapt dozens of yards into the air above the river. Yet, beneath the surging torrent of the river, a massive and elongated shadow was twisting and winding. Accompanying the shattering sound of the vase, a rich blood red surged up from the riverbed. Bang! The river water exploded. A gigantic and ferocious Jiao dragon's head burst forth. Roar! A deafening roar of the Jiao Long resounded. Rolling along the Nine Dragons River, it spread far and wide. Thereafter, this Jiao dragon re-entered the river, moving at breakneck speed, stirring up waves, and heading straight towards the upstream center of the river, the four royals' eight-armed wrathful Third Crown Prince's mysterious temple. The Dragon Clan and the Third Crown Prince. It seems as if the blood feud buried deep within blood and bone had been ignited. Falling Flower Alley. Within the small courtyard of the workshop, Li Che wiped the immortal work barret with a clean white cloth, checking one Bodhi dragon tooth bullet after another. After counting, Li Che stood up, draped a black robe over himself, clenched his hand, and covered his face with a horse face mask. Putting on a conical hat, he pulled down the brim. The black robe shredded the drizzling raindrops. The next moment, he vanished without a trace. Appearing once again, Li Che, with the horse face mask, was atop a towering tree outside Golden Light Mansion City. Clutching the immortal work barret in one hand, Li Che's mind became incredibly clear and calm. He turned his head to gaze at the seemingly enraged Nine Dragons River, miles away. Indeed, as Li Qingshan had said, the day he broke through to Divine Minister, the corpse god cult would surely incite an uprising at the mysterious temple. To draw away experts of elemental appearance, such as Nan Li Huo and the governor of the temple office, Xie Jing. Li Che didn't concern himself with those. That battlefield was not something he could interfere with at the moment. He was paid to work, only needing to help Li Qingshan break through Divine Minister was enough. As for the matters of the mysterious temple, they were temporarily irrelevant to him. The critical task was at hand. His fingers suddenly spread open, then he fiercely slammed them down, as if slapping an unseen chessboard. Within his chest, the chess saint's Dao fruit suddenly trembled. The next moment, from the point of the tree branch where Li Che was half crouching, as the right bottom corner stellar position on the chessboard, a network of interlacing chessboard lines spread out, enveloping the entire Golden Light Prefecture city. Like a heaven and earth chessboard suspended over the city. Underneath the horse face mask, Li Che slowly closed his eyes. On the chessboard above, one after another aura, like burning flames, flickered into existence. Li Che's eyes snapped open, locking onto a direction. There, he saw the divine archer Wen Longshan standing atop the city lord's mansion pavilion rooftop, straight as a spear. And before Wen Longshan's eyes, as if distorted air currents formed a hawk-like sharp gaze, as well as the drawn bow, as the thunder roared, aiming far away at the peak of Zhenglei Peak. Underneath the horse face mask, Li Che's eyes were cold and detached. He slowly raised the immortal work barret. The Gouda chessboard. Heaven and earth guidance. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the aureole behind. You aim at Qingshan, I will target you. The horse face crouching figure, with black hair suddenly flying. Aiming at Wen Longshan's brown Iwan. After half a breath of adjustment, he violently pulled the trigger. Chapter 316. You're aiming to shoot Li Qingshan. Then I will target you. It's that simple. Li Che's thoughts were simple and pure. He wanted to see whether the arrows from Wen Longshan were faster, or his immortal work barret sniped, even faster. The dragon tooth Bodhi bullet, whizzing out like a streak of light, tore through the night sky in an instant, its light slowly fading as if hiding into the darkness. The dragon tooth took the lead, followed closely by a roaring sound. The high-speed spinning dragon tooth Bodhi, across miles, smashed every raindrop falling from the sky, creating bursts of hazy mist. The speed was too fast. Thunder clapped loudly, yet had still not reached the ears of Wen Longshan, who had drawn his bow to full. That bullet, like a fierce dragon bearing its fearsome fangs, had already reached within 100 feet of him. So fast! Wen Longshan was startled. Having burst from a supremely distant place. It was faster than his arrow. Even faster. But Wen Longshan's eyes flickered with streaming light, twisting the air in front of him, as if transforming into an eagle eye that overlooks everything from high above. This was a divine secret technique, and he had mastered it to the level of a master. It was an essential divine secret technique for vision that every divine archer must cultivate. It greatly enhanced the accuracy and precision of a divine archer. Feeling the sense of danger on his scalp, every hair on the back of his neck stood on end. Without hesitation, Wen Longshan turned the fully drawn arrow in a silent direction and released the bowstring. The arrow, cloaked in a layer of crimson light, roared and shot out. Boom! Scream! A sharp sonic boom suddenly exploded. The crimson light-cloaked arrow, like a meteor tearing through the night sky and the rain, burst forth. The terrifying sonic waves, like rumbling sounds, swept out explosively. This arrow reached the extreme speed. It was the archery of a divine archer. However, the arrow was fast, but the sniping dragon-tooth Bodhi was faster. The arrow had barely traveled 100 meters before it explosively shattered, colliding directly with the dragon-tooth Bodhi bullet. The arrow and the dragon-tooth Bodhi bullet collided. It was like two divine archers, drawing stances, facing each other head-on. The immense divine power and vitality were instantly torn apart, the tough material of the arrow shattered, and the tip exploded. It seemed as if a brilliant golden firework had suddenly erupted in the night sky. Far away, Su Hui sat quietly under the eaves, with the fire burning beside him, boiling the water in the pot filled with melted snow, bubbling continuously. He watched the exploding fireworks, his eyes shimmering. Picking up a cup, he sipped some hot tea. Whoosh! The golden firework was suddenly twisted open. Another dragon-tooth bullet, the sound waves had not yet arrived, but the killing intent had. It tore through the just exploded fireworks, hurtling towards Wen Longshan's forehead at high speed. It aimed to pierce through his forehead. One strike to the head, wiping out forcefully. Crack! A thunderclap exploded, lightning flashed, and thunder roared, resembling a savage web of lightning spread across the sky, appearing suddenly. It illuminated the night as if it were broad daylight. Zhanglei Peak. Midway up the mountain, inside the yard where Li Chei's family stayed, the courtyard gate shut tight, raindrops as big as beans continually fell from the sky. They smashed on the ground, splashing and splitting apart, exploding in every direction. XIXI was spending the night at Golden Light Peak tonight and hadn't been brought back because Nan Luo also knew that Zhanglei Peak was particularly dangerous tonight. In unspoken agreement with Li Chei, XIXI was arranged to stay on Golden Light Peak. Master Sangguanyan stayed with her, protecting her. Inside the courtyard, Zhangya was staying in the room with the unconscious nurse Momo, along with Liu Qi. Liu Qi stood by the window, hands behind his back, exhibiting a maturity beyond his age, his eyes solemn and profound. Zhangya curiously looked toward Liu Qi, as if she was meeting this big-headed boy who often came to their house for meals for the first time. "Little Qi, are you worried about your master?" Zhangya asked with a gentle smile. Liu Qi turned around, his furrowed brow smoothing out, revealing an expression that did not fit his age. "Aunt Yi, my master is attempting the divine minister today, it's extremely dangerous. Even though it's within the gates of the sect, the master in his youth reckless, injuring many people, offending many as well. Many people are not pleased that he could step into the divine minister, all waiting for this chance to make him fail his breakthrough." Liu Qi said helplessly. Zhangya looked at Liu Qi, who seemed like a little adult, and shook her head. "Don't worry. My husband should have gone to help. You don't believe in your master, don't you believe in my husband?" Liu Qi fell silent. She's romantic at heart. But indeed, with the bull demon's intervention, it was much more reassuring. Zhangya also looked out the window, naturally revealing a worried expression in her eyes. Trusting is one thing, but worrying is also genuine. A wife at home always unconsciously worries about her husband striving outside. In the sky above Zhanglei Peak, electric snakes wandered, the screen of rain formed by raindrops condensed by the scorching currents fell upon the human world. Countless dense thunderclouds rolled over, creating a vast spectacle. Many people also began to feel a difference. They realized that Li Qingshan was not intending to shape the seven elements' divine visage. He was planning to forge the six ministries' godly aspect. Li Qingshan, so arrogant. He even wants to mold the six ministries' godly aspect? Thinking quite beautifully. Will this allow him to succeed? If he does, then in the future in Golden Light Prefecture City, we all will have to be constantly on guard, fearful of when a ramhorn hammer might smash on our heads. We must stop him. We cannot allow Li Qingshan to successfully break through. Sounds interwoven in the night air resounded incessantly. Chapter 317. Their formidable divine senses communicated with each other, and even the roaring, venting downpour could not obstruct their clear transmissions. Crack! Lightning serpents slithered across, illuminating the canopy of the sky. In a flash, one could vaguely make out one divine symbol cultivator after another, clad in black nocturnal garbs and wearing various masks, harnessing the currents of air, and soaring in the night sky. Only a divine symbol cultivator could achieve flight, a hallmark exclusive to the divine phase realm. Illusory phase cultivators could only levitate briefly, completely unlike divine symbol cultivators who could treat the sky as the ground they walked on for extended periods of time. From a distance, they fixated on Zhanglei Peak, staring at the divine temple atop the summit as if drawing upon the thunder from the heavens and earth. An overwhelming and terrifying presence. Thunder exorcism. Thunder was the epitome of righteousness. Any sinister spirits that came close would vanish into smoke. And the thunder of the heavens and earth was even more magnificent and boundless. To observe divine likeness, the first thing one must achieve is to match the temperament of the divine symbol. Although thunder exorcism is part of the thought divinity among the 7 emotions, it represents the temperament of the divine symbol. If one's temperament does not match, the chances of failing to mold the divine likeness are incredibly high. To match the temperament of the divine symbol, Li Qingshan had always taken the path of detesting evil as if it were a personal enemy, resolute and upright. With his ramhorn sky-breaking hammer in hand, how many evildoers engaged in wrongdoing had he hammered to death, how many evils had he eradicated? This was Li Qingshan's path of cultivation. The temperament of the divine symbol he sought to match. Rumble. The many masked experts did not immediately make their move. Their powerful divine senses swept forth, their forms hovering, drawing closer to the peak of the mountain. If Li Qingshan chose to mold the 7 elements' divine visage, they would act right at the start of his molding process. Because Li Qingshan would undoubtedly succeed in molding the 7 elements' divine visage, so they would need to interfere. But if Li Qingshan chose to mold the 6 ministries' godly aspect, things would be different. One should not be fooled by a mere ranks difference. The disparity was extremely frightening. In the entire Golden Light Prefecture city, only a few who stood at the primordial aspect realm had truly molded the 6 ministries' godly aspect. And those few all had extraordinary backgrounds. For instance, Nan Luo had an old master from the Ganyuan Orthodox sect. Xiejing, the governor of the Temple Administration Governor's Office, backed by the Temple Control Bureau, had countless resources, not to mention the chief supervisor of the Kintian Observatory. Even the individual from Divine Carving Ridge had an important origin and owned precious divine objects that could enhance the physical body. Only thus had they been able to forge the 6 ministries' godly aspect. What did you, Li Qingshan, have? A heart filled with righteousness to slay evil? That could not help enhance your physical body or withstand the terrifying impact of the 6 ministries' godly aspect entering your body. Li Qingshan's qi and blood martial path cultivation was at the rank of Grand Master Posterior Realm, not even close to perfection. In the eyes of these divine symbol cultivators, the chance of failure was extremely high. If Li Qingshan himself failed in his impact on the 6 ministries' godly aspect, they would not need to move a finger. Atop Zhanglei Peak, thunder kept smashing down, raging around, igniting bursts of sparks that roared with electricity and thunder. Countless explosive gusts of airwaves surged violently, sweeping away all rainwater. Only Qingshan, sitting on his cushion in his azure robe, his clothing flapping wildly in the frenzy. Sitting cross-legged, his hands formed the treasure pagoda seal. A faint glow emanated from the nuan at his brow. As thunder from the heavens and earth intertwined to the extreme, Li Qingshan suddenly opened his eyes, stood up on the spot, and faced the Hanging Thoughts Thunderquake Vanquisher Vajra statue within the constructed temple. The armored statue clanged resoundingly, and the eagle-like feathered cloak on its back opened fiercely with an oppressive aura. Rumble. Terrifying rolls of thunder sounded. In an instant, countless bolts of thunder converged and interwove above the temple, as if a lightning rod had drawn in all the electric energy of the heavens and earth. The interwoven lightning molded into the shape of a deity. Rumble. The deity of flashing thunder descended from the sky, bursting with a supremely brilliant radiance, catching the eyes of countless onlookers. It was like a deity slowly tearing through the barriers of the firmament, walking out from the celestial palaces on high. A face larger than a house, with lightning darting about and whiskers and hair moving, slowly peeked out from behind the clouds. With the howling of gales and the pelting of raindrops, the presence was massively imposing. Li Qingshan continued to form the treasure pagoda seal as he sat, his azure clothes flapping swiftly backward, clinging tightly to his body. His hair whipped and danced wildly, and the ramhorn sky shatterer, that had fought beside him in countless battles, soaked in endless blood, was placed to one side. It too ceaselessly attracted the thunder, being tempered and baptized by it. The transition from divine foundation to divine symbol was a leap in major realms, with a very clear elevation. It was a transformation as if truly invoking a deity within oneself. Turning the deity's divinity into something one completely possessed oneself. The realm of the divine symbol was somewhat akin to carving. The divine foundation, like the wood material for the wood carver, the evolved divine sense served as the engraving knife, slowly carving out the envisioned shape of the deity's figure. By using the property of like attracting like, one draws in and absorbs the divinity unique to the deity. The illusory phase is but a rough carving, only temporarily taking on the shape of the deity, not clear, not truly carved to form. Only a true divine symbol is a completed carving. The subsequent cultivation in the divine phase realm involves the slow, meticulous polishing of the completed divine foundation carving. In this polishing, one is also nurturing nature. In fact, the cultivation of divinity from the very beginning to the end cannot be separated from the two words nurturing nature. Rumble. As Li Qingshan pulled it down, as if the true body of the thunder deity descended, the entirety of Zhanglei Peak instantly erupted in myriad arcs of thunder. Li Qingshan suddenly opened his eyes and abruptly stood up from the ground. Under the terrifying divine pressure of the deity's rank, his spine was pressed down by the oppressive force, unable to straighten. Chapter 318. However, he let out a long howl, slowly lifting the oppressive power and straightening his spine. The divine pressure bestowed by the six ministries' godly aspect was truly six offices level, terrifyingly akin to the temple gods of the six bureaus. Li Qingshan struggled to straighten his spine, his eyes bursting with thunder. His whole body's muscles and bones clicked and clacked in unison. His divine sense was growing, flickering like a carving knife. He looked up at the hanging thoughts thunderquake exorcising Vajra, the six offices pressure overwhelming, like waves rising in a vast sea. Yet, Li Qingshan was incredibly excited, laughing loudly, ha ha ha. 7 Elements Divine Visage. I, Li Qingshan, have cultivated the divine foundation for years instead of the void aspect, just for the 7 Elements Divine Visage. If that were indeed the case, how would I, Li Qingshan, be any different from the mediocre? In this life, having exerted all my efforts just to solidify a 7 Elements Divine Visage, would that not be mediocrity? Boom! Li Qingshan's voice was filled with anger, and the next moment, he suddenly flung his arms wide open, as the inner scene of the energy center in his brow seemed to reflect reality. In an instant, a radiant divine foundation interlaced with countless thunderbolts, resembling a divine wheel, appeared behind him. Light was omnipresent, and the thunder arcs writhed like jiaishe. Li Qingshan spread and clenched his fingers, and the ramhorn sky-breaking hammer vibrated, shooting forth with a whoosh, grasped in his hand. With a snap, the thunder serpent moved, spreading instantly across his body from the hammer. He howled upwards. The thunderous divine being, furious, swung a massive hammer composed of numerous moving thunder arcs above the vault of heaven. Li Qingshan also raised the hammer in sync. Thump! The hammer fell. The divine foundation trembled, rapidly shaking off fragments as if a carving knife had torn through the original structure of the wood, shedding pieces and chips scattering. Divine phase. Breakthrough realm. It has begun. Atop Golden Light Peak. Nan Luo's large sleeves swept back, trailing behind him as he walked toward the steps of the Divine Palace, feeling the great wind suddenly rising from the whole Divine Sect mountain gate, his white hair flying. He looked toward the direction of Zhanglei Peak. One could see a vast thunderous divine being, seemingly a true god descending, bestowing divine grace upon the mortals trying to summon him. 6 ministries godly aspect, truly challenging, but to not give it a shot, would indeed leave much to be desired. Li Qingshan, oh Li Qingshan, truly not one to conform. Old man, I support you. Nan Luo smiled. With a tap of his toe on the temple floor, his figure suddenly soared into the air, drifting toward the sky. As if commanding the wind, ascending to the heavens. With a clench of his fingers, a sword flowing with golden light fell into his hand, the blade seemed entirely forged from gold, its surface engraved with ancient and mysterious divine scripts. Sizzling, the golden thunder mixed with a subtle evil aura intertwined upon it. This was the top-notch skill Mystic Thunder Golden Light Killing Sword. Moreover, compared to Xixi who had just begun with the Mystic Thunder Golden Light Killing Sword, Nan Luo's sword technique had already reached a master level, condensing the true intent and nearly touching the brink of the transformation realm level, forming a Zhu Shui domain. All hiding in the shadows, stop peering, if you dare, come forth and strike. Nan Luo smiled. His body trembled for a moment, and golden flames kindled from head to foot. Golden prison fire glazed body. It was the ultimate level divine secret technique that he had taught XIXI. Boom! In an instant, Nan Luo transformed into a blaze of golden fire, rapidly soaring forth. The divine symbol cultivators hiding in the dark, clad in night robes and wearing masks, turned pale. However, they weren't overly worried. As expected, once Nan Luo made a move, a richly intense death chi and corpse chi rolled and surged. A silhouette shrouded in silvery copper brilliance swiftly appeared and collided with Nan Luo. Septenary Corpse God Envoy, I wonder, which faction within the Mansion City have you aligned yourself with? Nan Luo stared at the Corpse God Envoy who had emerged using the space-time corpse technique. The appearance of the Corpse God Envoy did not surprise Nan Luo. After all, with Li Qingshan's Ramhorn sky-breaking hammer, how many experts from the Corpse God cult had he killed? He had nearly disrupted the Corpse God cult's arrangement in Golden Light Mansion City by joining forces with mysterious organizations like Ox Demon and Horseface. How could the Corpse God cult not hold a grudge? If Li Qingshan were to solidify his divine aspect as Six Ministries' godly aspect and acquire combat power of the post-divine phase, then the Corpse God cult would be in real trouble. It was understandable for the Corpse God cult to deploy the Septenary Corpse God Envoy to sabotage Li Qingshan's breakthrough. Nan Luo, what do you think? Wrapped in a white robe, the Septenary Corpse God Envoy spoke eerily. His voice was clearly altered, untraceable to its true tone. Nan Luo narrowed his eyes. He stared at the Septenary Corpse God Envoy stepping out from a black vortex, nearly forging a cursed silver corpse with a formidable presence. Behind this figure, two more vortexes swept through slowly, and, astonishingly, two more Septenary Corpse God Envoys stepped out. 3 Septenary Corpse God Envoys. The emphasis and preparation invested in dealing with Li Qingshan could be said to be at their peak. The fire of the golden prison fire-glazed body blazed even brighter. His eyes rolled with golden flames. In the distance, the sound of an erhu being played eerily resonated. The chief supervisor, attracted to the spectacle, came along. Twin sleeves peak. Zhang Qingzheng's scholar robe billowed, and with a violent gesture, he grasped towards the sky where a deity enveloped in countless majestic white lights and emanating a noble aura descended. Regarded as a divine minister, he was Wenku. Taking a step forward, Zhang Qingzheng floated as if merging into the divine figure. A 3-foot-long ruler fell into his hands and swung it upward. Crack! It exploded with a thunderous sound. Why bother with these petty nuisances? Scram! Zhang Qingzheng's hair and beard fluttered, his face twisted in rage as he viciously struck the hidden darkness with his ruler. Chapter 319. Suddenly, the divine symbol cultivators hidden in darkness all revealed their forms. They had planned to wait for the opportunity to see if Li Qingshan could complete his breakthrough. However, Zhang Qingzheng did not give them the chance to peep. Boom! Seeking death. A spear, like a red-hot branding iron, was violently thrown, resembling a flaming dragon snake, lashing through the sky. Overwhelmingly fierce, it was a rhythm of whoever comes will die. Countless red flames swept through, and a figure engulfed in flames, clad in red fire armor, stood across the sky. Zhu Hongdou. The Qi Emperor flame god-like figure. You all, seeking death. Her red hair hung upside down like a tuft of raging flames. Zhu Hongdou's eyes were wide open in fury, as if a fire god had descended onto the world, her fighting spirit high, filled with murderous intent. And that was not all. A figure of a young man wearing a half-peacock mask, tall and hands held behind his back, stood in the void. Although masked, everyone knew that this person was the Deputy Inspector Lin Qiu from the Qintian Observatory. Lin Qiu had not only come by himself but also brought along another deputy from the Qintian Observatory. A tall figure wearing a goat mask wrapped himself tightly, not revealing his identity in the slightest. But following Lin Qiu, everyone already knew his origins. On this night, the divine ministers of Golden Light Prefecture City almost all met around Zhanglei Peak. How dare you! Wen Longshan's heart burned with rage. A sharp shriek. Wen Longshan's eyes twisted the air, where the exploding firework followed by the roaring dragon-tooth Bodhi bullet looked like countless small Jia snakes twisting and winding. Once it drilled into the body, countless Jia would disperse, biting off chunks of flesh. When Longshan's toes fiercely tapped the roof, the black tiles on the pavilion's top exploded, continuously shooting out in all directions. His figure burst out backward as his powerful blood energy violently exploded. Bending the bow to a full moon, releasing the arrow. He completed the action of drawing the bow and shooting the arrow in a single breath. 80 meters away. The arrow, covered with divinity and blood energy, collided with the dragon-tooth Bodhi, and another spectacular firework went off in the night sky before the smoke from the first had even dissipated. After shooting the arrow, Wen Longshan's lean body vaulted into the air, moving at high speed, from the top of the pavilion. He leaped onto the roof where rows of black tiles were stacked, running swiftly on the beams, the tips of his toes barely touching the surface. While running, he kept shooting arrows. Hiss! Hiss hiss! Each of his arrows carried great momentum. But the dragon-tooth Bodhi bullet was silent, like a venomous snake hiding in the darkness, occasionally darting out its fangs filled with poison. Bang bang bang! Arrow after arrow, Wen Longshan felt an unprecedented pressure. His mind was incredibly tense, and his divine sense was pushed to the limit. The divine secret technique Hawkeye was focused in all directions, locking onto any slight movement in the night. He worried about the possibility of bullets shooting at him even with a slight change in the airflow. He was serious now, constantly running, changing his posture, not standing still as if he were a dead target for the other side to shoot at. But the dragon-tooth Bodhi bullet's precision was terrifyingly high. No matter where he was, the opponent could lock onto his position. Beads of sweat unconsciously formed on Wen Longshan's forehead. Drawing the bow, shooting the arrow, drawing the bow, shooting the arrow. The numbness in his arms didn't concern him at all. The opponent seemed like a chess player outside the chessboard, looking down on him from a high altitude. Every dragon-tooth Bodhi bullet was like a chess piece held between the opponent's fingers. Fiercely placed from high above. The snap of a placement on the chessboard. And it was time for his life to be taken. His Hawkeye divine art was completely suppressed. It was as if he was not on the same level as the opponent at all. He was at the first layer, while the opponent had already reached the heaven's canopy layer. Horseface! Horseface! Wen Longshan's heart beat violently, being a 7 elements divine archer from the prefecture city divine guard army. For the first time, he felt such tremendous pressure. A pressure solely from a contest of archery skills. Bang! Another firework exploded. And this time, under Wen Longshan's eyes that twisted airflow. The dragon-tooth Bodhi was only 10 meters away. Wen Longshan let out a low growl, and the last 3 feathered arrows from his quiver all fell into his hand. Drawing the bow to a full crescent moon, a trace of blood-red color faintly crept into his eyes. I am a divine archer after all. I've found your position. On his neck, veins bulged out like jiaxie, and the terrifying energy and blood erupted from his body. 3 arrows whistled out, 3 streaks of crimson light ripping through the sonic boom, accompanied by a thunder-like explosive noise, they soared away. Bang! Another burst of fireworks exploded, scalding and fiery, with the sound of metal arrowheads from the dragon-tooth Bodhi and the arrows colliding and friction against each other, along with the sound of golden iron and blood exploding. This burst of fireworks was only 3 meters away from Wen Longshan. The red flames rushed towards his face, scorching his flesh and skin. But Wen Longshan didn't care in the slightest. The next instant, his eyes narrowed. His body suddenly shifted in the space of a single breath, moving his figure sideways. But it was still too slow. The silent dragon-tooth Bodhi bullet, twisting and writhing from the smoky fireworks just 3 meters away, shot through the left side of his chest. Creak creak. The ear-piercing friction noise rang out. It was the sound of the dragon-tooth Bodhi bullet scraping against the 8 Extremes defense divine armor on his body. The terrifying and sharp penetrating power made Wen Longshan's eyes narrow. Bang! Another dragon-tooth bullet pierced through the not yet dispersed fireworks and shot out. It struck on the bullet that was just like a regular dragon tooth. Under the stacked force of the 2 bullets, the weak spot of the armor was viciously torn apart. A cloud of blood mist exploded from Wen Longshan's chest. The first dragon-tooth Bodhi drilled straight through his chest and exited his body, while the second dragon-tooth Bodhi instantly exploded inside him, with countless Bodhi silks wildly spreading. Striving to gouge out his flesh, Wen Longshan stood on the rooftop, holding the divine bow in one hand. The dragon-tooth Bodhi failed to gouge out his flesh. Because of Wen Longshan's flesh, strong as steel, clung onto each wriggling Bodhi silk attempting to curl and gouge out his flesh. As a divine archer, he paid great attention to the tempering of his flesh. He was not only powerful in divinity but also in martial cultivation. He simply refused to admit defeat in archery skills. But now it seemed he had lost. The explosions of fireworks still lingered with their dying notes. Wen Longshan stood there, drenched wet by the torrential downpour. Feeling the hole bored through his chest, he looked at the divine soldier longbow in his hands. His face was fiercely grim. How could he have lost? Outside Golden Light Prefecture City, on the stout branches of the dense, towering trees, rainwater fell, pattering against the bark and making a drizzling sound. Horseface half crouched on a branch, pressing down on the brim of his hat slightly. In his hands, the immortal work barret had its barrel releasing a cloud of intense, hot smoke. Around Horseface, one after another, the fairy in the painting dragon-tooth Bodhi bullets floated. There were whistling sounds echoing. The arrows fired by Wen Longshan from within the city cut through the light trails and parted the rainwater, spanning over a dozen miles of land. Finally, they lost their power and arced downward in a parabola, landing on the ground 500 meters away from Horseface. The arrowheads embedded into the ground. Li Che, carrying the immortal work barret, took a step. Cloud Harrier treading on clouds. He appeared noiselessly above the arrow embedded in the ground. He flicked his finger. The tail feathers of the arrow instantly trembled and shook as if they were a loyal dog's tail. Atop Zhenglei Peak, Li Qingshan's black hair wildly billowed, and the whole person shed his aged appearance, instantly becoming decades younger, transforming into a young man. Behind him, the colossal divine foundation seemed to burst non-stop. The divine form previously sketched on the divine foundation, accompanied by the falling debris of the divine foundation. A genuine hanging thoughts thunderquake exorcising Vajra divine appearance. Amidst the lightning arc moving like interweaving snakes. It was completely formed. Chapter 320. In the thick of the forest, Li Che, wearing a horse-face mask, held the immortal work barret in one hand. Having sniped several dragon-tooth Bodhi in quick succession, the barrel of the immortal work barret had begun to struggle, faintly overwhelmed. The immortal work barret also needs to be upgraded. Li Che stowed the weapon away, thoughts stirring in his mind. The last two continuous shots of dragon-tooth Bodhi, using pure firepower to suppress, managed to push down the arrows from Wen Longshan. It hit, but did not kill. Wen Longshan has a strong physical body, the power of the dragon-tooth Bodhi is ultimately lacking, and moreover, with Su Huili watching nearby, it's unrealistic to teleport there and ambush him. Actually, the idea of teleporting over the moment he shot the dragon-tooth Bodhi was quite compelling to Li Che. However, with Su Huili right beside Wen Longshan, this cultivator who likely had condensed a primordial spirit posed an enormous threat. For Li Che, facing two opponents alone, escape was probably the only option. The updates and upgrades to the dragon-tooth Bodhi need to be accelerated. I must find a way to integrate the Great Avalanche, as the mere effect of Bodhi blood tears flesh gouging is becoming insufficient. A martial artist at the master middle boundary could essentially neutralize the lethal power of the Bodhi silk by controlling their flesh and blood. Also, the penetrative effect is weaker when the opposition wears defensive divine arms and armor. For the 8 extremes lower class divine arms and armor, 2 shots are needed, and they must hit the exact same spot. This is quite difficult, with an extremely high failure rate. Under the horseface mask, Li Che frowned after a brief mental review. He was not satisfied with the effect of this sniper attempt. Although the outcome of this mutual sniping ended with the horseface penetrating the opponent, it did just that, penetrated. Li Che had originally planned to kill Wen Longshan. The 2 deadly dragon-tooth bullets were both aimed at his brown Yuan palace. Unfortunately, the greater the distance, even with the precise guidance of Ches Saint Deo fruit, there was still a possibility of error. Moreover, Wen Longshan was not an immobile dead target. He would move. Improving firepower equipment is now urgent. Li Che let out a breath. And to improve the immortal work barret, the focus is on the spiritual wood. Divine carving ridge. I hope it does not disappoint me. His words dissolved into the air like a breeze. Li Che's figure then catapulted out again, changing positions. A sniper's location was exposed and had to be changed. He found another concealed spot. Li Che landed silently, causing no sound at all. Immaculate Heart Divinity solidified into canvas, divinity mingled with chi and blood, painting the fairy in the painting. With a grasp of his fingers, he directly pulled out a set of the immortal work barret from the canvas. The barret painted by the fairy in the painting could be used, but its durability was even lower. The painted immortal work barret could probably only withstand 2 shots of dragon tooth Bodhi before exploding into a mist of ink. Set up the sniper. The heaven and earth chessboard expanded once again. Perceive, aim. With the world as the chessboard, everything was in view. However divine Wen Longshan's Hawkeye divine art might be, how could it compare to the all-encompassing eyes of the chess saint? While keeping a close watch on Wen Longshan, he also locked onto the direction of Zhenglei Peak. The horse face from the underworld would ensure that tonight, blood would be seen. Let the world know. He, horse face, is not merely a divine archer, but a divine sniper. Click, click. Thunder roared. A gigantic godly figure of thunder landed on the summit of Zhenglei Peak, a terrifyingly intense electromagnetic storm sweeping relentlessly. The ground stones were shattered by the explosive thunder strikes. Li Qingshan stood still, clutching the ram's horn sky shatterer, his hair hanging upside down, his blue clothes already torn apart by the thunder, leaving only his trousers and his incredibly muscular upper body. In the late Grandmaster stage, his qi and blood were robust, his true qi like a dragon. His divine foundation was fully engraved to become the hanging thoughts thunderquake exorcising Vajra. Meaning, Li Qingshan's breakthrough to divine likeness was only one step away. That was to internalize the engraved divine likeness. And this was also the most perilous step. Long ago he had informed Li Che that charging the divine foundation through nurturing nature also heavily depended on physical strength, and one needed to reach the qi and blood cultivation at the mysterious vein to firmly step into divine foundation. The same logic applied to the divine phase realm. To firmly step into the divine phase, qi and blood cultivation must at least reach master middle boundary, and just entering the master stage was not safe. If one is shaping the 7 elements divine visage, late Grandmaster stage cultivation would suffice, but if seeking to condense the 6 ministries godly aspect, the late Grandmaster stage cultivation is still not enough. The risk was extremely high, with the chance that the body could not sustain the formidable strength of the 6 ministries godly aspect and thereby be shattered by the rampant divinity, becoming a servant of divinity. Each year, numerous cultivators made mistakes in cultivating divinity, led into madness, enslaved by divinity. Eventually, they would slowly deplete their qi and blood and die. It can be said that Li Qingshan was walking a tightrope. This was also why many did not have high hopes for Li Qingshan. The 6 ministries godly aspect required too high a rank. Correspondingly, it required a stronger physical body to sustain it. Or, some divine object specifically to enhance physical strength for survival. But Li Qingshan had none of these. Boom! The surrounding void, the divinity of divine symbol cultivators, rippled like waves continually crashing around. Various types of divine appearance natures collided, creating wave after wave. Nan Li and Chief Supervisor, the 2 Yuan phase old men Old Deng, suppressed the 3 septenary corpse god envoys of the corpse god cult in the battle, each moved by the chief supervisor causing the Erhu to emit sound unconsciously. Chapter 321. However, Nan Luo and the chief supervisor hadn't relaxed because they both knew that these 3 corpse god envoys were holding back, not fully exerting their strength. They were paying attention to the situation of Li Qingshan's breakthrough. If they judged that Li Qingshan could successfully integrate the divine minister of the 6 bureaus into his body, then these 3 septenary corpse god envoys might reveal their true strategies in the moment when Li Qingshan was about to succeed. After all, septenary corpse god envoys, all condensed the silver gang exclusive to the cursed silver corpse. That Shen gang power was on par with that of a master of divine gang. On the other hand, Zhu Hongdou's fighting spirit soared. Her Qi Emperor Flame God aspect was the kind that grew more courageous as the battle went on. Once she entered the battle state, she was completely frenzied. There was no concept of stopping at the right point, as she wildly bombarded another divine symbol cultivator, who was wearing a mask and night-walking clothes. The cultivator, unable to contain his anger, exclaimed, "Zhu Hongdou, why do you keep targeting me?" Zhu Hongdou's eyes were red, the flames burned fiercely, and behind her, the Qi Emperor Flame God stood tall and disdainful. "Shang Guanji, you old stallion, don't think I can't recognize you just because you are wearing a mask. Last time, I let you get injured to earn XIXI's pity. This time, I'm bound to skewer you. Surrender your life, old dog." Zhu Hongdou's spear, which spit tongues of flame, struck a point, and firelight swept up. Furiously she charged at Shang Guanji, who was wearing the mask. Shang Guanji was truly about to explode with anger. Everyone in Golden Light Prefecture City was a divine minister, and they could recognize each other's aspect. Wearing a mask and night-walking attire, their confrontations were only for keeping up appearances without tearing each other's faces off. It was like Zhang Qingzheng, Wang Wu, Lin Qiu, and the Qin Tianjian's vice supervisor wearing a goat mask. They were all sparring without going all out. Only Zhu Hongdou, like a husky whose tail had been stepped on, was set on a do-or-die fight with him, Shang Guanji. Woman, don't you understand any human kindness at all? Shang Guanji had no energy to pay attention to Li Qingshan's situation and could only strive to resist. Zhu Hongdou was serious, indeed fighting with all her might. Although Shang Guanji was in the middle god phase realm, he did not dare to underestimate Zhu Hongdou of the initial realm of divine minister. After all, this woman's aspect had been tempered to the strength of 6 ministries. Crackle crackle! Lightning serpents coiled wildly, and the rain poured down like pillars. Wen Longshan was soaked by the rain, which washed away much of the blood stink on him. His expression was somewhat hazy as he returned inside the city lord's mansion, looking a bit grim. Su Huili sat holding a teacup. He poured a cup of tea and handed it to Wen Longshan. Colonel Longshan, your defeat is not because of you. That horseface used mechanical techniques, not true archery. You were beaten by mechanical techniques, not by archery. So, what's there to feel lost about? Su Huili spoke with a smile, his eyebrows lifted in a somewhat boastful manner. Upon hearing these words, Wen Longshan's mood eased quite a bit. The blood hole in his chest kept wriggling, and after a moment, the multitude of Bodhi silk that had split open was squeezed out by his flesh and fell to the ground. This is very much like the mechanical techniques of the Tang family. Back in its heyday, the Tang family ruled in mechanical techniques. Coupled with fearsome mechanical beasts, even great gods of the divine embryo realm felt threatened. It was not an empty reputation. Being defeated by the Tang family's mechanical techniques is no shame. Su Huili picked up a piece of Bodhi silk and said lightly. This horseface seems to be related to the Tang family, or perhaps, the power behind Ox Demon and Horseface is associated with the Tang family. Su Huili furrowed his brows. Even when a centipede dies, it does not stiffen so easily, truly resilient. But the Tang family is long gone, and the mere Tang family can't stir any significant waves. A wave of invisible force erupted, incinerating the Bodhi silk to oblivion. Back then, the divine fetus ancestor of the Tang family was split by a single cut from my master, and the Tang family's most prized mechanical beasts of the 5 elders level were seized by my master. A faint smile tugged at the corners of Su Hui's lips. They are just struggling remnants clutching at life. Wen Longshan's heart shuddered slightly, his eyes flashing with fervor. The prince is a martial saint of this era, naturally powerful. Longing too flickered through Su Huili's eyes. Rest assured, Colonel Longshan, you won't suffer this injury in vain. The prefecture master will undoubtedly reclaim honor for you. Given the chance, the prefecture master will pluck off that horseface's head for you. Su Huili comforted, currying favor and winning hearts. However, when Longshan's expression hardened as he shook his head, there's no need, prefecture master. My archery art, the crimson flame flowing fire divine arrow technique, is about to reach the transformation realm. Once I reach the transformation realm and manifest the true intent domain, and when I shoot again, I will surely pierce through Horseface. A strong sense of confidence suddenly burst forth from Wen Longshan. Su Huili, catching on to this conviction, reflected a glint of intrigue in his eyes. Then allow me to congratulate Colonel Longshan in advance. Wen Longshan bowed, and then he turned to look in the direction of Zhanglei Peak, where thunder and lightning thundered. Prefecture Master, do you still plan to take action? Wen Longshan inquired. Su Huili shook his head, there's no need. Wen Longshan looked puzzled. That horseface has his eyes on you, the moment you shoot, he will snipe to hinder you. Li Qingshan is very aware that once he breaks through to Divine Minister, he will become the target of many. Hence, he hired that horseface to take action. It was a worthwhile hire. That horseface is a top-level assassin lurking in the shadows. Comparable to those of the hunting god pavilion. Su Huili gently swirled his teacup, stating. Wen Longshan fell silent, his heart slightly shocked. He hadn't expected Su Huili to rate Horseface so highly. One should know that the hunting god pavilion was an extremely mysterious and formidable assassin organization. Chapter 322. He even assassinated a great god cultivator of the divine embryo realm. Horseface. Could he actually rival the assassins of the hunting god pavilion? Suhuili glanced at him and smiled, of course, but he is only the lowest ranked assassin in the hunting god pavilion. Wen Longshan nodded. Suhuili looked towards Zhanglei Peak. Your best opportunity to take action was interrupted by Horseface, it's too late to intervene now. Li Qingshan. Done. In the dense forest. A breath in, a breath out. Utterly stable, as tranquil as usual, rippling with the touch of the wind. The rain outside the city was not as urgent as the rain inside, carrying even flakes of snow that had not yet melted away. Li Che, wearing the horseface mask, was half crouching at a new sniper point. Since he had promised Li Qingshan to take action tonight, Li Che certainly wouldn't go back on his word. The heaven and earth chessboard enveloped the entire Golden Light Prefecture city. It locked onto figure after figure around Zhanglei Peak. Those figures had immense auras, after all, they were divine symbol cultivators. On the chessboard, they were like bright lamps. He focused his vision on the most intense battle. That was the fight between Zhu Hongdou, the peak master of Red Cloud Peak, and Shang Guanji, utterly desperate. Compared to the lackluster efforts of the others, Li Che couldn't help but pay attention to this battle. Shang Guanji, the old ancestor of the Shang Guan family. Shang Guan Zhenggen's father, an enemy. It's going to be you. Li Che thought briefly, and once he realized Shang Guanji was an enemy, he didn't hesitate any longer. He was surprised not to sense the corpse chi and death chi of the corpse curse mark on Shang Guanji's body. After all, Shang Guan Zhengheng was a member of the corpse god cult, yet this ancestor, Shang Guanji, apparently wasn't. However, even if Shang Guanji was not of the corpse god cult, Li Che had no mercy. After all, the grudge against Shang Guanji was irreconcilable, and Shang Guanji's appearance tonight, intent on disrupting Li Qingshan's breakthrough. Then there was nothing to discuss. 2 words. Sniping you. Li Che's mud pill at the brow suddenly burst into brilliance, and behind him, all 7 wheels divine base emerged simultaneously, 7 divinities, instantly like 7 surging rivers, releasing divinity, frantically flowing into the immortal work Barrett replicated from fairy in the painting that he held in his hands. The dragon tooth Bodhi bullet, roaring fiercely, like an angry flood dragon leaving the river, bellowed madly as it shot out. The roaring sound still echoed in the heavens. But the dragon tooth Bodhi bullet had already silently transformed into a black line shooting through the air at breakneck speed. Zhu Hongdou. Shang Guanji swatted away the flames on his body, furious beyond measure. Bitterness, anger, and a torrent of killing intent swept from him. Authentic rage had been provoked. He grew increasingly ruthless with his attacks, showing no sign of holding back. Zhu Hongdou. Too much bullying. The most up-to-date novellas are published on Fruitnoelo. No, it was Li Qingshan and Zhu Hongdou who bullied him too excessively. Li Qingshan killed his child, Zhu Hongdou took advantage of his old age and weakness. How could Shang Guanji bear to swallow this grievance? Sizzle sizzle sizzle. Countless arcs of lightning surged forth, with Shang Guanji's blood chi bursting out, participating, countless blood-colored thunders interweaving and flickering. His figure suddenly burst out in mid-air, like a bolt of lightning, reaching the ultimate speed. The Zhu Shui of the Shang Guan family, pale thunder body. Divinity erupted, the 7 elements extremely terrifying god plunderer kill god aspect. A deity exuding a sense of fear and disturbing the mind appeared behind Shang Guanji. Zhu Hongdou's eyes were a rolling red, her spear shook, and her fighting spirit was overflowing. However, her eyes couldn't help but widen in shock. Then with a bang, Shang Guanji, who had deployed the pale thunder body and vaguely exerted a sense of oppression, appeared as if pierced by an invisible arrow. He flew sideways through the air unexpectedly. A dense cloud of blood mist exploded from his chest. Spurt! Shang Guanji roared in fury, his eyes revealing a color of horror. Zhu Hongdou, you despicable and venomous woman! You disgrace the elder rank of divine sect! You've ambushed me! Shang Guanji spat blood, and amidst his furious roar, he smashed his palm hard on the blood mist exploding from his chest, the terrifying divinity and chi blood controlling the dragon tooth Bodhi that had exploded inside him. However, his body suddenly felt cold. The pale thunder body burst through countless raindrops in the night sky, cutting across them. But the moment he steadied his form, another silently shot dragon-tooth Bodhi bullet headed straight for his brown Yuan palace. The true form of divine appearance completely enveloped the surroundings, forming an incredibly tough defense. But would Zhu Hongdou give up this opportunity? With a clench of her 5 fingers, the Qi Emperor Flame God aspect suddenly carved out a crimson flame spear, piercing through Shang Guanji's divine appearance. Shang Guanji kept spitting blood in mid-air, shocked, furious, and afraid. Horseface! It was Horseface. The insidious and venomous divine archer who had shot his son, Shang Guan Zhengheng. The bastard sneaking around shooting secret arrows. Just as Shang Guanji's divine appearance had been pierced by Zhu Hongdou, the dragon-tooth Bodhi bullet shot silently. The terrible penetration power brought by its high-speed rotation directly pierced through another side of Shang Guanji's chest. Zhu Hongdou trembled with excitement, her flames dancing unceasingly. It felt so great. Having support. It really felt too great. Though Shang Guanji was a middle god phase realm cultivator, Zhu Hongdou's condensed 6 ministries godly aspect could only match him evenly. But now, the scales were tipped. Shang Guanji, successively heavily injured, felt something was wrong and roared repeatedly, turning around trying to flee. However, would Zhu Hongdou be willing to let him escape? With every advantage, an unyielding Zhu Hongdou delivered blow after blow, all with lethal intent. Meanwhile, at Zhenglei Peak, Li Qingshan's hair and beard were splayed out, and he burst into laughter. His arms wide open, muscles bulging, and veins threading across his powerful body, a rich color of blood erupted. Chapter 323. Interweaving to form 3 Qi blood flood dragons. 8 flood dragons overturning the rivers. The 3 Qi blood flood dragons entwined around the divine likeness of Thunderclap Vajra carved from the divine foundation, struggling to drag it towards the inner scene of the energy center. At a distance, 3 7 elements corpse god envoys aside from Shang Guanji, ancestors of noble families, sect leaders and others were all focused on Li Qingshan's attempt to integrate the 6 ministries' godly aspect into the inner scenery, and whether his body could withstand it. Suddenly, 2 more Qi blood flood dragons burst forth within Li Qingshan. 5 Qi blood flood dragons. They also entwined around the godly aspect. In the span of a single breath, they viciously dragged the 6 ministries' godly aspect into the inner scene of the energy center. Boom! A dense fog of blood exploded from Li Qingshan's body, but countless thunders flickered around him, as if forging a true body of lightning. Ha 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 ha! The godly aspect! I've succeeded! Li Qingshan laughed out loud. Everyone? Surprised? Caught off guard? The surroundings fell silent for a moment before a flood of swearing and cursing erupted. Damn it! Despicable! The realm of the 5 flood dragons? Master level 8 flood dragons overturning the rivers. So cunning, such deep concealment. The powerhouses who had been paying close attention to Li Qingshan's breakthrough were now cursing in anger. Some cultivators, who had been hoping to see Li Qingshan's body crumble under the pressure of the 6 ministries' godly aspect, burst out in shocked and furious curses. Li Qingshan had concealed his abilities too well. Mastering the Master Level 8 Flood Dragon's River overturning skill. The success rate of integrating the 6 ministries' godly aspect was at least 70%. We've been deceived. The aura of the godly aspects burst forth, and then the divine ministers, like monkeys scattering from a fallen tree, swiftly fled in all directions away from Zhenglei Peak. Li Qingshan was shrouded in lightning, with his pupils flashing with lightning deep within. He gripped the ramhorn sky-breaking hammer. His speed surged dramatically. Countless thunders behind him interwove into a pair of lightning wings, which with a single flap, carried him like a thunderbolt swiftly across the sky. It was as if a horizontal bolt of lightning had torn across the heavens and earth. When the lightning faded, Li Qingshan, wrapped in the frenzied dance of 5 Qi blood flood dragons, swirled between heaven and earth. Grasping the ramhorn sky-breaking hammer, he appeared behind Shang Guanji, who was bloodied by the combined assault of Horseface and Zhu Hongdou. Shang Guanji's face was ashen, his eyes empty of any will to live. Why? Why is it me again? Boom! The hammer came crashing down. Shang Guanji's divine likeness was shattered, and then his head too burst into pieces. A thick miasma of death tumbled. Under their masks, the eyes of the 3 7 elements corpse god envoys suddenly changed drastically. Damn it! It's a trick! As soon as they saw Li Qingshan unleash 5 Qi blood flood dragons, they knew it was too late. Too late to stop Li Qingshan. Li Qingshan, who had suddenly erupted with the power of 5 flood dragons stealthily, exceeded everyone's expectations. What was clearly a desperate breakthrough from death to life was turned by Li Qingshan into a sneaky affair akin to a forbidden romance. Nan Li Huo started laughing. What a Li Qingshan, he even managed to deceive him. However, it was normal, Li Qingshan had never trusted him. The erhu hanging at the waist of the chief supervisor, however, quietly played a tune, unfazed, finding the turn of events to be expected. Because he had given birth to a primordial spirit. Naturally, he had sensed Li Qingshan's concealment. Having a primordial spirit and not having one were two different states. Chief Supervisor, it's time to close the net. If we devour these 3 7 elements corpse god envoys, the arrangements of the corpse god cult in Golden Light Prefecture will completely collapse, Nan Li Huo said. The Chief Supervisor smiled, and beneath his plain clothes, his formerly lean body suddenly swelled, his muscles bulging readily beneath his aged white beard. There was a tremble at his brow. Powerful primordial spirit strength instantly swept out like a storm, bringing the night sky to a standstill. Primordial spirit. The dreadful rank suppression caused the 3 7 elements corpse god envoys to change color, feeling as though their every action had become difficult. Without hesitation, the 3 of them unleashed a terrific surge of death chi. A flash of silver gang burst forth upon their bronze flesh. Like 3 long knives, they ferociously slashed towards Nan Luo and the chief supervisor. Then, black smoke billowed and at their backs turned into a vortex. The main goal tonight was to disrupt Li Qingshan's breakthrough to Divine Minister, but everyone ended up being outmaneuvered by Li Qingshan. The clamor rose instantly. They were like ants on a hot pot, each one dashing desperately to escape. Li Qingshan swung the ramhorn hammer, his thunderous wings flapping behind him. In the shadows, silent dragon-tooth Bodhi sniper bullets shot out, assisting Li Qingshan. Almost every shot hit its mark. A few slower divine ministers at the initial realm had their heads smashed to pieces by Li Qingshan's violent 3 hammer swings. Li Qingshan! Come! In the distance. Nan Luo yelled. Li Qingshan's gaze sharpened and swept over, without a hint of hesitation, he grabbed the ramhorn sky-breaking hammer and, like shooting up from the ground, enwrapped in countless arcs of lightning, charged towards a septenary corpse god envoy. Thunder exorcism. The heavens abhor the chi of death and the corpse chi. Evil people of the corpse god cult. Your life is forfeit. Outside Golden Light Prefecture City. Li Che pressed down on his woven bamboo hat. The rain had stopped. The sky once again gently began to sprinkle snowflakes, shrouding the whole land in a mantle of silver. Bang! The immortal artisan barret in his hand exploded, turning into a cloud of ink. Li Che exhaled a breath of foul air. It's over. After Li Che realized that Li Qingshan, with an unexpectedly audacious and irritating pose, forcefully pulled the chief supervisor into his inner scene of the energy center to evolve from divine foundation to divine minister. Li Che knew that tonight's chaos had come to an end. Senior Qingshan is indeed steady, this is worth learning. Li Che mused thoughtfully. Still, he had learned a lot and was very pleased. The only regret is, taking action as Horseface, even if I killed them, I had no chance to loot the bodies. Not looting after killing always makes my hands itch. Li Che sighed. Luckily, Li Qingshan promised him an 8 extremes divine crystal, so it was not a fruitless endeavor. Standing up, steadying himself on the tree branch, Li Che stretched lazily. However, the stretch was only half completed. Suddenly, Li Che quietly turned his gaze toward a seemingly empty spot in the distance. A black dot appeared out of thin air. The dot was exceedingly dense. Gradually, the thick death chi and corpse chi burst forth from the dot, spiraling rapidly and eventually turning into a massive black vortex. Space-time corpse technique. Death chi anchor point. Li Che's eyes lit up slightly. That's the death chi anchor point left by the corpse god cult's experts during their retreat. Isn't that convenient? Under the horseface mask, the corners of Li Che's lips slightly curved upward. Even with Horseface's typically calm demeanor, he couldn't suppress a smile at this moment. Worrying he hadn't looted any corpses tonight. Here was one coming right to him. Anyone capable of using the space-time corpse technique would at least be an 8 extremes corpse god envoy. Of course, it could also be a septenary corpse god envoy, or even, a higher rank corpse god envoy. The steadiness Li Che had just learned from Li Qingshan caused him to regain his composure and take the situation seriously. He was about to employ one of the world's most ingenious assassination methods. Waiting for the rabbit. Inside his chest, the Immaculate Heart Taoist fruit throbbed suddenly. The immense Immaculate Heart divinity within was incessantly marshaled by him. Mingling with the blood chi of a furnace grandmaster, it formed divine ink. He flung it towards one drawing paper after another of Immaculate Heart. Suddenly, 16 horse faces, the pinnacle of the fairy in the painting clones that Li Che could currently create. They all took up the immortal artisan Gatling, with clanging sounds resonating. Arranged in a fan shape, they tightly encircled the death chi anchor point vortex. Out of caution, Li Che tore open the air with 2 fingers, placing the prototype made from the Guanyin blood lotus, containing the power equivalent to 100 divine chess pieces, the Great Avalanche Guanyin Lotus Bullet. Quietly at the exit of the death chi vortex. Waiting for a little mushroom. Chapter 324. Li Che treaded on the ground, stomping the soil until it was level. Then, he gently placed the Great Avalanche Guanyin Lotus Bullet 2 meters in front of the slowly spreading black vortex. He even carefully adjusted the angle of Guanyin's pinched fingers and smiling face. He made sure that when it detonated, the entire range in front of the black vortex would be engulfed. It would make the explosion of the little mushroom somewhat more presentable. 100 divine chess piece equivalent of the Great Avalanche Guanyin Lotus Bullet. This was Li Che's first attempt and first explosion. Li Che was, of course, serious and solemn about it. 16 horse faces also set up the immortal artisan Gatling gun and swiftly soared out, distancing themselves from the lotus bullet, preparing to fuel the fire from 500 meters away. After completing all this, Li Che tapped the ground with the tip of his foot, ejecting himself a kilometer away. Hiding behind a tree trunk, he stood silently on the thick trunk, beneath the horse faces whose pupils flickered with flowing light, filled with a bit of anticipation. The black vortex whirled faster and faster, and the area it covered grew larger and larger. Finally, when the swirling range of the black vortex reached about 10 meters, the black smoke vortex suddenly trembled. Li Che's eyes sharpened. Here it comes. He raised his hand, and a white divine chess piece floated in his palm. That was the divine chess piece that controlled whether the Great Avalanche Lotus Bullet would explode or not. The moment he crushed the piece, the divine chess pieces inside the Lotus Bullet would erupt in fury, and under the activation of the divine powers prototype Great Avalanche, they would explode thunderously. Whoosh! Draw! The dense forest was extremely quiet. Only the winter wind blowing, the rustling of leaves grazed by falling snow. Li Che breathed in and out, staring fixedly at the black vortex. As someone who had used the space-time corpse technique to flee, they were surely one of the evil people from the corpse god cult. Towards the cultivators of the corpse god cult, Li Che would not have the slightest bit of mercy, just one word: kill. The corpse god cult. There are no good people. Finally, Li Che's eyes narrowed under the bull demon mask. In the black vortex, a figure darted out rapidly, a rich and extreme scent of blood instantly spreading in the dense forest. The figure landed on the ground, gasping deeply, shaking ceaselessly like a bellows. Suddenly, the sound of gasping abruptly stopped. Who? A hoarse voice rang out from beneath a mask cracked all over, with the blood-colored character 7 written on it. Septenary Corpse God Envoy. Li Che's gaze intensified. A big fat fish. Without any hesitation, he clenched his 5 fingers and crushed the floating white divine chess piece. Hooked a big fish. Li Che had never expected that he would actually catch a septenary corpse god envoy by laying in wait. The moment he crushed the piece, it took only half a breath's instant. In the astonished gaze of the septenary corpse god envoy, they saw the serene Guanyin wood carving that sat quietly before them, about half a person tall, suddenly began to vibrate. And then, light. Endless light. It engulfed his field of vision. What the hell is this? The heart of the septenary corpse god envoy felt an icy chill. His silver gang, already depleted in the struggle to escape the combined assault from Nan Luo and the Kintian Observatory's second chief supervisor Erhu, was exhausted. Now, he basically fell to the level of a greatly accomplished cursing copper corpse, which was equivalent to the rank of an 8 extremes corpse god envoy. Silver gang was the biggest gap between a greatly accomplished cursing copper corpse and a master cursing copper corpse. A terrifying explosion Fierce light and heat consumed the corpse god envoy. The ground of the dense forest trembled. A column of white blazing light slowly surged into the clouds before gradually spreading out, like a large dollop of ink poured into water, slowly dripping down. It formed a bright mushroom cloud about 4 or 5 meters high. Small as it was, in Li Chei's eyes, it was rather cute. Whoosh, whoosh. The shockwave spread in concentric circles, expanding in all directions. Countless trees swayed in unison, bending towards one direction as their leaves were blown away. White vapors rolled and roared like a sweeping storm. This lasted for about 30 to 40 breaths. Gradually, the tiny cute mushroom cloud faded into the heavens and earth. Li Chei removed the horse face mask and replaced it with the bull demon mask. His body suddenly grew taller and more robust, like a towering pagoda, with a fierce and pointed demonic face on his back. He took 16 men carrying gatlings with horse face masks. Step by step, they approached the center of the explosion. The black vortex of smoke vanished. Although there's no radiation contamination, there's still the stir of divine contamination. Li Chei sensed it and analyzed lightly. It seemed there were indeed side effects. In the rubble, Li Chei's gaze swept across and spotted a charred body blasted to pieces, scattered all around. Li Chei activated ascending the tower, unleashing 1,000 analyzing hands. He reached out towards the scattered bones. Instantly, nearly 70 divine chess pieces were extracted by him. 70 divine phase chess pieces, just about the post-divine phase, pretty average. The cultivation of the septenary corpse god envoy doesn't seem as high as I thought. That's right, the corpse god envoys of the corpse god cult mainly rely on the corpse curse technique. This septenary corpse god envoy died from heavy injuries, blown to death. It's somewhat understandable. He must have escaped from Zhanglei Peak, lucky to bump into me, died extremely swiftly. Li Chei chuckled. He collected the 70 divine phase level divine chess pieces. Now, he could determine the cultivation based on the number of chess pieces in the corpse. For instance, an initial realm of divine minister would produce about 30 or fewer chess pieces. The middle realm was 30 to 60 pieces, while 70 pieces or more was the latter realm, over 100 pieces, were perfection or even elemental appearance. Chapter 325. The divine chess piece was fully retrieved. Li Chei searched through the ruins for a while. His divine sense spread out, and he finally found the worn, scorched, and unbearably hot Kyunkan jade, covered in cracks and buried under layers of thick ash. Fortunately, it's not broken. Li Chei let out a breath of relief. Pocketing the Kyunkan jade, the collection of a septenary corpse god envoy, should allow him to look forward to a rewarding haul, he thought. This trip was not in vain. I even earned an 8 Extremes Divinity Crystal from Senior Qing Shan. Li Chei began to smile. In the perception of the heaven and earth chessboard, several presences rapidly shot towards him. Clearly, that adorable 5-meter-tall mushroom cloud and its blazing light had drawn quite a bit of attention. Li Chei, wearing the bull demon mask, pulled his wide-brimmed hat lower. He snapped his fingers. Crack! 16 horse faces exploded into black mist and disappeared without a trace. And the form of the bull demon also shifted away abruptly. After the bull demon left, several leaps like the flight of wings through the dense woods. 3 figures in Temple Control Bureau uniforms landed around the ruins. Zhang Lianhao's eyes narrowed, and his hand instinctively went to the handle of the bureau's blade at his waist. What's this? What the heck? Whoosh whoosh. The raging winds carried roaring whirlwinds past. In front of him, a crater about 50 meters in diameter appeared. Within the crater's ruins, dispersed 7 emotions divinity, interwoven chaotically, seemed to form a polluted field that made consciousness fuzzy and divinity uncontrollably frenzied. The commotion has ended. The atmosphere within Golden Light Prefecture City gradually quieted down. But everyone knew that with Li Qingshan's breakthrough to the divine phase realm, the skies of the Mansion City were bound to change soon. The 5 great clans, no, now the 4 great families' elders knew to make their descendants act cautiously and keep a low profile. Otherwise, once Li Qingshan took a disliking to them or caught them by the collar, it would spell trouble with a capital T. And the elders couldn't stand up for the clan members anymore. As for some cultivators with unspoken secrets, they began to shrink back, hiding themselves cautiously, daring not to show even a hint. Zhanglei Peak. Thunderbolts continuously streaked across the sky, but the dark clouds had already scattered, as if the golden light of the heavens and the earth were being spilled upon the land. Li Qingshan, sitting astride and brandishing his sword authoritatively, sat in a chair with his black hair flying about, his chi and blood extremely abundant, his spine straight, and his eyes sparkling. Occasionally, a vague shadow of a god would appear behind him. This was not a void aspect, but an involuntary external manifestation of Li Qingshan's divine aspect due to his inability to control his power. With the divine aspect externalizing, the pressure emitted by him became extremely terrifying. Even ordinary people would feel oppressed to the point of panic and breathlessness merely by approaching him. Li Qingshan needed some time to consolidate his cultivation, as he had been a bit too hasty. In order to catch his enemy by surprise, he used 5 blood Jiaolong to directly incorporate the sculpted divine foundation and divine aspect into the inner scene of the energy center. The process was too crude and rapid, which was a great burden on Li Qingshan's physical body. He needed some time to recover. Nan Luo floated down, with the chief supervisor carrying an erhu at his waist, landing on the pockmarked dapping of Zhanglei Peak. The corpse god cult's action this time involved 3 septenary corpse god envoys, of whom we captured 1 and let 2 escape. The results are acceptable. The escaping 2 were also seriously wounded, their silver gang depleted, and the greatly accomplished cursed bronze corpse was torn apart by us, which will take them a long time to recover. Nan Luo's white hair was flying, quite satisfied. The chief supervisor was beaming with joy. At this moment, he really wanted to play a jubilant ee of celebration on his erhu to add to the atmosphere. Thinking so, the chief supervisor was already sitting cross-legged on the ground, taking off his erhu from his waist, and placing it against his hip bone. Sitting on a small stool, he took out a shiny porcelain bowl, ceremoniously placing it in front of him. The mellow sound of the erhu drifted about Zhanglei Peak. Li Qingshan couldn't help but be speechless. Is this really the chief supervisor? He hadn't had many encounters with the chief supervisor, and previously only had combat power at the void aspect, so high-level experts like him were difficult to face directly. But now, the image of the capable and righteous chief supervisor in his mind had collapsed. This was just an old man who took performing as his hobby. I also hired Horseface. It was also thanks to Horseface's secret support and attacks. Earlier, I felt a great threat coming from the city lord's mansion. It must have been that divine archer Wen Longshan who wanted to foil my breakthrough. Li Qingshan said gravely. Stepping into the divine phase, he felt a tremendous transformation, and he was a completely different person. As a godly aspect at the beginning of the 6 ministries, his potential was much higher. For example, Zhu Hongdou, who was also at the 6 ministries godly aspect level, had a much lower ceiling than he did. But he was stopped by Horseface. Li Qingshan exhaled deeply. Wen Longshan, such a divine archer, posed too great a threat to him when he was on the verge of a breakthrough. It was thanks to Horseface that this hire wasn't a loss at all. Not to mention that Horseface later helped and shot those divine phases who were eagerly watching and plotting something. I ought to give a generous red envelope. Such a divine archer must be befriended well. Li Qingshan muttered to himself. Having a friend who excelled in secret arrow attacks was comforting. Wen Longshan. Nan Luo's eyelids lowered. The conflict between the city lord's mansion and Li Qingshan wasn't significant, yet they still chose this critical moment to strike. Their motive was clear, most likely to annoy him, Nan Luo, and prevent the Golden Light sub-sect from gaining another powerful figure. Find an opportunity, to dispose of him. Nan Luo said in a low voice. Upon hearing this, Li Qingshan's eyes lit up. I must be a part of it. Nan Luo nodded. Chapter 326. Li Qingshan did not refuse. Standing on the edge of the cliff, he gazed at the sky where a faint glow of dawn was emerging. Nan Luo exhaled a breath. Li Qingshan, you have finally broken through to the Divine Minister phase, possessing the combat power of a post-Divine Minister. That's a significant aid. With you, a post-Divine Minister cultivator, supporting the upcoming Temple God Resonance, the children will be safer too. Nan Luo said softly. However, Li Qingshan suddenly slapped his thigh and sprang from his chair. Sect Master, help me suppress the external manifestations of the Divine Minister right away. Li Qingshan urged anxiously. Nan Luo gave him a glance, puzzled. Do it yourself, a couple of days of cultivation and you should be able to contain it. That won't do, I have to go see my wife, or else I'll no longer have one. Li Qingshan's face twitched. He seemed to have already guessed Nurse Momo's furious demeanor. Li Qingshan, you've really done it, daring to knock out your wife and stir up trouble. It seemed that Nan Luo guessed something and couldn't help but be speechless. Women, only hold you back, slow down your cultivation. Nan Luo stated indifferently. Like him, alone, to have attained his current achievements. And the chief supervisor, a 213-year and 7-month-old virgin. The erhu music in the world suddenly became piercingly mournful and sharp, as if the chief supervisor felt an overwhelming humiliation. Nan Luo quickly extended his hand to mobilize the divinity point on Li Qingshan's forehead. He helped him sort out and suppress the external manifestations of the divine minister. Afterward, Li Qingshan's aura of grand mastery retracted, and with a bent back, he ran full speed towards the mid-mountain courtyard where Li Che was. Zhanglei Peak, the study in the small courtyard. Li Che crushed the thunder chess piece and after returning, did not immediately leave the study. In this battle, he barely exerted his physical strength, relying on immortal artisan Barret and the compression enhancement of his divine foundation divinity, to aid Li Qingshan in achieving his breakthrough. It was quite effortless. Li Che stretched lazily, feeling very content. Hiding in the shadows, just a few shots, and he earned an 8 extremes divine crystal. How could one not be happy? He raised his hand, tore open the air, and the Kyunkan space spat out that shabby Kyunkan jade. It belonged to that unfortunate septenary corpse god envoy. Li Che inwardly rejoiced it was not completely destroyed in the bombardment and was still usable. His divine sense did not hesitate, it invaded directly, forcefully and dominantly. Li Che was very much looking forward to the collection of the septenary corpse god envoy. This was his biggest gain for the evening. He settled his mind, not swayed by material gains nor personal losses. Time to start the inventory. Li Che's eyes suddenly brightened. With a grab of his 5 fingers, a divinity crystal shining with pure, rolling divinity landed in his hand, the surging might of divinity sweeping through it. This is a 7 yuan divinity crystal. Li Che's eyes shone brilliantly, worth it. Just this 7 yuan divinity crystal alone made tonight's action a perfect harvest. 1 7 yuan divinity crystal, 6 8 extremes divine crystals, 30 from the 9 luminaries, 3 from the 10 cities. There are so few from 10 cities, but that's normal. The septenary corpse god envoy wouldn't even glance at the divinity crystals from 10 cities. Li Che laughed. He had been hit by another wave of incredible fortune. Indeed, wealth needed to be seized by oneself. If he had fled upon seeing the vortex of death chi, wouldn't the wealth have slipped away too? He picked a little mushroom, dangerously seizing this fortune. He deserved to make money. Continuing the inventory, Li Che quickly frowned and calmed down. Divine weapons, far worse than imagined. There was only 1 8 extremes divine weapon, which did not match the prestige of a septenary corpse god envoy at all. Suddenly, Li Che took out a circular mirror, its frame was made of bronze. His arm glowed with a jade hue, 1,000 analyzing hands decipher. Divine weapon, 7 yuan lower grade 1000 Li divine communication mirror. Introduction, infuse divine sense to communicate with other holders of the divine communication mirror, connecting soul across 100 Li, preserving a mirror across 1,000 Li. In charge, divine foundation and above. This thing feels so familiar. Touching his chin, contemplating, is it you? With just this functionality, it dares to be labeled as a 7 yuan divine weapon. However, the ability to communicate over 1,000 Li, to jointly converse, it could barely be considered a genuine 7 yuan divine weapon. After all, information is sometimes the most valuable. This world's divine weapons, all flash and no substance. Li Che smiled and his eyes sparkled brightly. Although he had the Dao fruit of immortal artisan, if he switched careers to learn the art of divine weapons, he could also make a fortune. But creating his own divine weapon, can it compare to the windfall bestowed by others? Li Che put away the divine communication mirror and continued the tally. There were naturally many death chi martial pills from the septenary corpse god envoy. To Li Che's delight, there was even a 7th stage top grade death chi condensing martial pill. For him, a furnace grand master, its effects were excellent. In terms of martial arts, the other party did not carry any with him. Instead, there was a little booklet, Corpse God Secret Technique Silver Gang. Is it like the space-time corpse technique, one of the Corpse God secret techniques? Silver Gang. Li Che flipped through it, his eyes growing brighter. To call it a secret technique was a bit of a stretch, it was actually a type of martial technique compatible with the cursed copper corpse. Using the death chi of the cursed copper corpse to condense the power of Silver Gang unique to the cursed silver corpse, though it falls short of the divine gang of a great Grand Master, it does touch the threshold of this level of power. And to cultivate Silver Gang, one needs a strong and resilient body, and only a master cursing copper corpse with major accomplishment could attempt it. Only by cultivating a strand of Silver Gang could one be considered as entering the master cursing copper corpse. A transforming realm cursing copper corpse, then, would have its body covered with the blossoms of Silver Gang, extremely powerful. Silver Gang, can I cultivate it? Integrate it into myriad transformations. Dragon Elephant. If the body of the cursed copper corpse is strong, could my dragon elephant Vajra be inferior to the cursed copper corpse? Chapter 327. This Silver Gang doesn't rely on death chi or corpse chi, it's a form of martial arts, not corpse god technique. Li Che was stirred inside, actually entertaining the idea of cultivation. The explosive power of Silver Gang was tremendous, and its penetration power was extremely fearsome. If he could master the Silver Gang and integrate it with immortal work Barrett, wouldn't that be a whole new upgrade path? After tallying it over and over again, the curve of Li Che's lips could no longer be suppressed. Feeling that Li Qingshan was hurrying over energetically, Li Che quickly gathered his things and left the study. Upon entering the room, he saw Li Qingshan, smiling broadly as he cozied up beside Nurse Momo, seeking forgiveness. Li Qingshan, you've got some nerve, why don't you try to kill me? What's the point of knocking me out? You, stop right there, don't come any closer, step back, keep stepping back. Nurse Momo was fuming mad. Li Qingshan, with a smile plastered on his face, shamelessly moved closer, starting to soothe her with gentle words. Zhang Ye, grinning from ear to ear, saw Li Che and bounced over, leaning against his sturdy chest. Her face was full of smiles as she watched the two elders flirting and arguing. Husband. We should also be like this when we're old, full of love. Zhang Ye's eyes were glistening. Li Che ruffled her hair. Okay. Zhang Ye pursed her lips, her dimples blooming. Suddenly, she remembered something. Husband, aren't we forgetting something? XIXI might still be at Golden Light Peak. Oh, no worries, let her stay there tonight, we can thoroughly explore those 72 bone tempering techniques you developed. Ah? That many? Li Qingshan still had a sense of pride and had not defaulted on Li Che's divinity crystal. The next day, he delivered that 8 Extremes divinity crystal. Help me thank Horseface properly. This time, he really saved me from Wen Longshan, that divine archer's sneak attack. Someday, invite him for a drink. Li Qingshan said with a smile. Although he knew the likelihood of drinking with Horseface was slim. Such a secretive divine archer does not easily expose his location. Wen Longshan, hey? We'll get a chance to kill him together. Li Che narrowed his eyes. Li Qingshan stretched lazily, I've advanced to divine phase, our green elegant oxen and horses combo can move out again. Li Che's eyes lit up. However, those cultivators who have joined the corpse god cult and received the corpse curse mark might already know about your bull demon's ability to detect the corpse curse mark. Most likely, they will have withdrawn. It seems we might not get a chance to make our move. Li Qingshan felt a bit disappointed. Anyone who had received the corpse curse mark could guess that, with Li Qingshan's breakthrough, a bloody purge was inevitable. Li Che smiled at this. It's okay, the corpse god cult suffered a heavy blow this time. The sect master and chief supervisor left behind a septenary corpse god envoy, they won't make a move anytime soon. However, once the temple god resonance operation starts, the corpse god cult will inevitably rise again. Their threat cannot be ignored, Li Qingshan said gravely. Like last night. An uproar occurred at 9 Dragons River, the 4 Royal Mysterious Temple was attacked by a Jiao Long from the river. It almost sparked an uncontrollable uprising. The corpse god cult still cannot be taken lightly. After talking with Li Che for a while, Li Qingshan continued to placate his wife. This wife, it seems, would not be easily soothed in a few days. Time flowed like grains through fingers. Before they knew it, 7 days had passed. During these 7 days, Li Che had been immersed in his cultivation. Golden Light Prefecture City had become peaceful. As Li Qingshan advanced into the divine phase realm, the skies above the mansion city cleared up, turning the snowy air exceptionally fresh. The public security in Mansion City reached an unprecedentedly good level. In the meantime, Li Qingshan organized a green elegant oxen and horses operation. As a result, they only managed to kill a gang leader of a small faction under the Beggars sect, who hadn't had the chance to escape and had been afflicted with the 10 cities corpse curse seal. Since the upper echelons of the Beggars sect were destroyed by the Bull Demon, the entire sect fell into disarray. The gang leader of this small faction tried to take a share of the spoils and ended up being captured by the green elegant oxen and horses. Li Qingshan felt regretful. Having just advanced to the divine phase realm, he was ready to make a grand move, officially notifying all forces in Golden Light Prefecture City that Li Qingshan, armed with his Ramhorn Sky Shatterer, had returned. However, as they had guessed, the followers of the Corpse God cult had indeed withdrawn from the city completely. Falling Flower Alley. In the small courtyard, the wind howled. Whoosh! Inhale. The countless vines were violently shattered. Clad in snug black attire, Li Chai's chi and blood surged heatedly, almost as if the phantom of a dragon elephant loomed suddenly from his back. The sinews and bones sang in chorus, and his spine roared ferociously like a dragon. Li Chai threw punches, performing his martial arts methodically. Inside his stomach, the walls moved, a powerful strength crushing a 7 yuan lower-grade death chi condensing martial pill. The pill coating split open, and a massive medicinal effect surged into his limbs and bones. Forge-like chi and blood rapidly coursed through the meridians around his body, achieving a grand circulation of chi and blood. Having stepped into the Grand Master realm, the force pushed out with each movement of chi and blood was immensely terrifying. Suddenly, Li Chai's gaze sharpened, and with his fingers like hooks, he suddenly clenched his fist, instantly twisting and tightening the flow of air in the courtyard into 5 white streaks. Then, a flash of silver brilliance burst brightly above Li Chai's fist. Silver Gang! Though only a faint trace, it impacted the air with a terrifying explosive roar. The air itself seemed to twist and slice open. Having finished his practice, he stood still. The bubbling chi and blood dissolved all the accumulated snow in the small courtyard. Li Chai exhaled a foul breath, his eyes opening and closing, filled with brilliance. Silver Gang! I've cultivated it. Chi and blood Silver Gang, minor accomplishment. Integrating the Chi and Blood Silver Gang into myself created true intent ultimate study myriad transformations Dragon Elephant, forming the Silver Gang Dragon Elephant true strength, results in an extremely terrifying explosion. Li Chai raised his hand, and between his fingers, a silver arc rapidly darted about. The Corpse God cult's Corpse God envoy used the cursed copper corpse to refine their Silver Gang. But he had condensed it using his extraordinarily powerful forge-like Chi and blood. The power of the Chi and Blood Silver Gang was even stronger and more domineering. Ordinary martial artists naturally couldn't manage it, but Li Chai, with his martial arts talent enhanced by the Dragon Elephant Vajra Deo fruit, was different. With the strength of the Chi and Blood Silver Gang, I can activate the ascending stance without relying on the Heavenly King Divine Chess Piece, and I should be able to achieve the burst of a Grand Master posterior realm. The Imperial Astronomical Observatory Inspector agreed to take me to that Fire Eye Mystical Awestruck Spirit Ape Strange Temple, but I don't know when we'll go. The Temple God Divinity Chess Piece in Flying Thunder City, which I had worn down completely, is exhausted. I'm beginning to miss the Temple God. He sighed. The Temple God chess pieces were exhausted. He felt utterly insecure without them. Luckily, he would soon enter a new strange temple. Sitting cross-legged, Li Chai calmed his chi and blood, allowing the drifting snow to return, fluttering down onto his shoulders. He tore the air open and took out the richly divine and potent 7 yuan divinity crystal from the Kyunkan space. It was the only 7 yuan divinity crystal he had so far. In front of him, lights flickered. Deo fruit, pure heart, LV 3,9%. Grasping the 7 yuan divinity crystal, Li Chai's eyes opened and shut, shining brightly. He wondered how far a single 7 yuan divinity crystal could propel him. Chapter 328. Snow drifted from the sky. In the courtyard, there was complete silence except for the rustling sound of the snowflakes gently scraping against the ground. Li Chai exhaled a breath. In his hand, he clutched the only 7 yuan divinity crystal he had. With the exhaustion of the Temple God divinity chess pieces and the opening of the Ascending the Tower, there was a lack of blessings, the power greatly decreased. Without the Temple God divinity chess pieces, he felt insecure. There were still half a year before entering the Golden Temple. Moreover, he couldn't possibly use the Heavenly King Divine chess piece every time he activated the Ascending the Tower, right? Thus, Li Che was quite eager to head to the mysterious temple of the Fire Eye mystical Awe-Spirit Monkey. But before that, he needed to convert all his resources into personal strength enhancement. Gripping that 7 Yuan divinity crystal, Li Che slowly closed his eyes. Inside his chest, the Dao fruit pure heart throbbed suddenly, and from it burst forth a tremendous suction force. Just like the first time he absorbed the pale divine essence from the 8 extremes divine crystal. That kind, the cool feeling of guzzling a cold Sprite on a hot summer day. Boom, boom, boom. It was as if a faint rumbling sound was echoing and trembling within the inner scene of the energy center. The flawless divinity contained within the 7 Yuan divinity crystal was extremely vast, like a breached dam, crazily pouring out its flow. Surging into Li Che's inner scene of the energy center, flowing into the pure heart divine foundation. Li Che even had an illusion as if he had swollen up, bloated with the abundant divinity. And the long missed, post-divine foundation realm pure heart Taoist fruit, whose advancement speed had become increasingly slow after reaching level 3. Suddenly started to accelerate. Li Che concentrated his spirit, wholeheartedly immersed in the refinement of the 7 Yuan divinity crystal. 2%, 2%, 2%. In just a breath or two, the maturity increased by 2%, giving a sensation of soaring. Refreshing. That was the feeling. Utterly intoxicating. Li Che's eyes shone brightly, the inner scene of the energy center was glowing. The pure heart divine foundation was rapidly growing, its aura continuously climbing. Even the 7 wheels 7 emotions divine base was slightly trembling, exuberantly cheering, as if wishing to share in the feast. Hoo! Hoo! With each breath, the exhalations seemed to form a misty vapor. Rapid advancements were always brief. His eyes flickering open, it seemed as if a shiny white stream of light flashed across the depths of his eyes. Dao fruit, pure heart, LV 339%. The 7 Yuan divinity crystal was quickly drained, turning into a transparent crystal stone, quietly lying in Li Che's palm. It increased the maturity by 30%, lower than expected. However, the lingering feeling of indulging in the pure heart Dao fruit. The next 7 Yuan divinity crystal should also bring a rapid improvement. Li Che closed his eyes, feeling his condition. The pure heart divine foundation had reached the standard of the post-divine foundation realm, and its balancing and lubricating effect on the 7 emotions divine base had improved significantly. The synergy between the divinities of the 7 emotions divine base had also reached an efficient state. However, it won't be easy to forge the 7 venerated divine forms from the 7 emotions divine base. Li Qingshan forged a divine likeness with such grandeur. If I were to forge the 7 emotions divine base, the grandeur would surely be even greater. Li Che furrowed his brows, worrying about how to handle it when he would break through to form the divine likeness. Moreover, once it was revealed that he possessed the 7 wheels divine base, it could likely attract the attention of interested parties. The danger would intensify. Li Che's normally steady mindset naturally did not allow such a situation to occur. It seems that when the time comes, the only option will be to find a remote and uninhabited area to secretly break through. Storing away the remnants of the 7 Yuan divinity crystal, Li Che sighed. Poor indeed. More 7 Yuan divinity crystals would be nice. Isn't the sect master supposed to hire Ox Demon and Horseface to assassinate Suhuili? Why haven't they made their move yet? Li Che muttered to himself. He stood up, stretching lazily. Opening the Kunkan space, he took out 1 8 extremes divine crystal after another, handing them to the neatly arranged 7 fairy in the painting clones. He let them refine the 8 extremes divine crystals to nurture their nature, enhancing the divinity of the 7 emotions divine base. After encouraging them for a while to work on developing the Guanyin Lotus main battle tank clones, Li Che put away the divine wood carving made by the clones and walked towards Qin Tianjian's cliffside treasure tower. Snow fell along the long street, quieter than ever before. Li Che, wearing a bamboo hat and dressed in a dark robe, made his way down the street. Passing by the riverbank, the river's surface seemed to be brushed by a breeze from time to time, occasionally rippling. Snowflakes twirled gently upon it before melting and sinking into the water. The empty spring snow was clear as washed. Suddenly, recalling the river's clarity, sand was visible. The riverside snowscape held a unique charm. It was a pity that the 9 Dragons River did not freeze. Otherwise, one could truly experience the lonely sensation of an old man in a straw cape and fisherman's hat, angling alone in the snowy river. Arriving at Qin Tianjian, Li Che handed over the completed wood carving to Shangguan Qinghong, asking her to help with its delivery. Then he planned to head to the workshop inside. Che, wait a moment, your evaluation as a second-class guest official has been approved. Officials from Qintianjian's Dao City have been dispatched and should arrive in about half a month. Make sure you prepare well, Shang Guanqinghong reminded. Additionally, Gong Xiaojian is looking for you. She said, by the order of the chief supervisor, she wants to take you to visit Divine Carving Ridge today. Li Chei's steps halted abruptly. Divine Carving Ridge. Yes, Divine Carving Ridge, most of the spiritual wood resources come from Divine Carving Ridge. Che, if you need higher quality spiritual wood in the future, you'll also have to seek it there, Shang Guanqinghong said, cracking sunflower seeds and smiling. Li Che was about to ask some questions about Divine Carving Ridge. Gong Yunli had already arrived, her gorgeous attire flowing, her face slightly made up, her broad chest adorned, striding hands behind her back. Chapter 329. Guest Official Li, let's go. Gong Yunli said. After leaving the Qintian Observatory Treasure Building, a luxurious carriage was waiting outside. The carriage bore the emblem of the Gong family, belonging to one of the Mansion City's 5 great clans. Li Che climbed in, finding the carriage interior both spacious and comfortable, he couldn't help but marvel at the extravagance of these noble families. Gong Yunli also entered the carriage and sat across from Li Che, beginning to boil water and prepare tea. As soon as they were aboard, the charioteer immediately drove the carriage forward. The horses neighed, their hooves clattering on the cobblestones, echoing continuously. Divine Carving Ridge is located quite far outside Golden Light Prefecture City, it will take some time to get there. Gong Yunli handed a cup of freshly brewed tea to Li Che after preparing it. She then cradled her own cup and drank from it in small sips. Gong Xiaojian, Divine Carving Ridge, it's part of the prefecture's power as well. Li Che took a sip of tea, asking curiously. He had limited knowledge previously, but now that he was about to enter Divine Carving Ridge, he naturally had to do some homework in advance. Divine Carving Ridge is actually part of the Divine Sect. Dao City Divine Sect has Dao City Divine Carving Ridge, and each provincial sub-sect has its own Divine Carving Ridge. Divine Carving Ridge is generally located near the Divine Sect Mountain Gate. Yunzhou sub-sect of the Qianyuan Divine Sect is in Golden Light Prefecture, hence Divine Carving Ridge is also situated in Golden Light Prefecture. Strictly speaking, it belongs to the Divine Sect's influence. However, in most cases, various major powers of the Mansion City regard it as an independent force. Gong Yunli said softly. An independent force. Li Che narrowed his eyes. Gong Yunli nodded and hummed softly, Divine Carving Ridge is more like a gathering place for wood carving masters. All the divine wood carvings needed by the inner sect disciples of the Divine Sect Mountain Gate come from Divine Carving Ridge. Divine Carving Ridge has a specialized team of wood carving masters. Gong Yunli took a sip of tea, gazing out of the carriage window at the scenery. Is it the same as the wood carving masters who are guest officials at the Qintian Observatory? Li Che raised an eyebrow. Gong Yunli's long eyelashes trembled as she looked at Li Che and shook her head. Not the same, guest officials at the Qintian Observatory can be wood carving masters, forge weapon masters, and so on. And do not restrict status, whereas most wood carving masters at Divine Carving Ridge have passed the assessments for third-class guest official status at the Qintian Observatory. Moreover, that Ridge Master of Divine Carving Ridge, he is a first-class guest official at our Qintian Observatory. After Gong Yunli spoke, Li Che could not help but take a deep breath. A first-class guest official. Li Che knew the requirements for a first-class guest official, and they were not easy. A third-class guest official could be any 9 luminaries level wood carving master. Second class might require the level of an 8 extremes master. A first-class guest official, however, is expected to carve 7-element divine wooden sculptures. Li Che could not help but think of the 7 Yuan divine image he saw during Li Qingshan's observing divine likeness session. It must have been the work of the first-class guest official from Divine Carving Ridge. That Ridge Master, he has a particular status, remember to be polite when you meet him, Gong Yunli advised. Li Che nodded incessantly, a master of 7-element wood carving. He certainly needed to show a good attitude, as he might not be able to carve a 7-element divine sculpture himself, yet XIXI's cultivation might require one. Therefore, to prevent obstruction in terms of cultivation resources for his daughter, Li Che would need to put on a radiant smile. By the way, that Ridge Master of Divine Carving Ridge, his surname is Tang. Gong Yunli recalled something and introduced Li Che. Specializing in mechanical techniques. After the carriage left the Mansion City, it sped swiftly on the official road. The charioteer continued to whip the reins, the speed of the galloping horses increasing even more. This horse might be of a breed with some demon blood, fast and enduring. About an hour passed. The carriage, racing fast as lightning, finally reached its destination. The carriage entered a small town. It arrived in front of an extremely spacious mansion at the town center. We've arrived. This is Divine Sculpture Town, under the administration of Divine Carving Ridge. Each Divine Carving Ridge has such a town. Here you can find wood carving masters to order divine wood carvings, or you can buy spiritual wood and so on. The 5 great clans, the 5 great sects, Golden Light Subsect, Temple Control Bureau, Kintian Observatory and the City Lord's Mansion, among others, all have outposts here. Gong Yunli introduced. Upon reaching the mansion gates, Gong Yunli presented an introduction letter and they were led inside. Li Che followed Gong Yunli through a corridor perfumed with the various scents of wood, his gaze extending towards the continuous white mountain ridges covered in thick snow. The mountain seemed like a slumbering dragon, nestled in the midst of heaven and earth. After a long walk, passing through the workshop area, they could see a dense array of workshops. They even glimpsed numerous laborers in snowy conditions, their bare torsos steaming in the cold, carefully moving wood carvings. Li Che couldn't help but watch a few moments longer, a nostalgic look flashing in his eyes. In his younger days, he too was a laborer at a wood carving shop. Divine Carving Ridge, it seemed, was like a giant wood carving shop. What are you looking at? Gong Yunli, seeing Li Che halt, asked curiously, her cheeks slightly reddened by the winter cold. Following Li Che's gaze, she noticed the shirtless laborers carrying wood. These laborers were of modest cultivation, most being mere skin refinement or sinew transforming martial artists. Gong Xiaojian, you might not know. Back then, I was merely a laborer in a wood carving shop, carrying wood for the wood carvers. It was my shoulders that lifted up the wood carvings, the timber, and carried my family. Li Che said with a smile. Witnessing such a familiar scene now, I can't help but be overwhelmed with emotions. Having said that, Gong Yunli's eyes trembled slightly. A laborer from humble beginnings. Becoming a third-class guest official at the Kintian Observatory. Indeed, it was quite remarkable. Gong Yunli couldn't help but admire him herself. Chapter 330. Suddenly, a gentle breeze stirred, and Li Che's heart skipped a beat. The Dao fruit of the chess saint within his chest vibrated violently in warning. Under his ink-colored robes, his muscles and tendons resonated together, his great tendons twitching. An expert. A great expert. Li Che swiftly turned his head and caught sight of a figure. Merely standing in the corridor, his presence was as profound as a mountain, his body seemingly harboring countless roaring angry dragons. Yet Gong Yunli stood to the side, bowing slightly. Junior Supervisor Gong Yunli from Kintian Observatory, pays respects to Ridge Master Tang. Li Che turned around and gazed at the towering old man who had appeared behind him. Quite towering, he was even comparable to his own size when he activated the dragon elephant Vatra. His beard was twisted like a dragon's, his eyes were bright and piercing, his body's muscles seemed wrought from twisted steel, radiating a hot and explosive aura at all times. The Ridge Master of Divine Carving Ridge, Tang Sanjia. Li Che clasped his fists and paid respects to this vigorous old man who did not seem old at all. The old man looked down at Li Che, his slightly narrowed eyes filled with a touch of inquiry, a touch of curiosity. You are the talented divine sculpture master spoken of by Li Qingshan. I've heard you've delved into and researched the way of mechanisms. Tang Sanjia spoke indifferently, yet his voice echoed like a great bell. Li Che's gaze sharpened. Predecessor Qingshan has overpraised me. I don't deserve to be called a genius, I just have some understanding. Li Qingshan had previously mentioned taking him to Divine Carving Ridge, but it was postponed due to his breakthrough to Divine Minister. But clearly, Li Qingshan had mentioned him to the Master of Divine Carving Ridge. Tang Sanjia's eyes, sharp as an eagle's in the lofty skies, scrutinized Li Che, and a hint of intrigue flashed in his gaze. 1,000 spider threads. Sleeve crossbow. Li Che was startled. He had concealed his sleeve crossbow and 1,000 spider threads exceptionally well and had not expected the old man to see through them at a glance. You're studying Tang's mechanism essentials? That is the most widely spread blueprint of Tang family mechanism, Tang Sanjia said matter-of-factly. Li Che smiled, nodded, and started to respond. A light kindled in Tang Sanjia's eyes. He beckoned for Li Che to walk alongside him, and Gong Yunli, suddenly finding herself one step behind, had to follow like a maid behind the two men. Gong Yunli was not annoyed, merely somewhat curious about Li Che. Who would have thought that guest official Li was also skilled in mechanical techniques? It seemed quite hidden and unassuming. Gong Yunli felt something was off when she heard Li Che was skilled in mechanical techniques, but after further thought, found no fault and did not make the connection that Li Che might be the bull demon. Li Che glanced at Junior Supervisor Gong Yunli's bewildered face from the corner of his eye. The corner of his mouth twitched. Deputy Forest Supervisor's assessment of Junior Supervisor Gong Yunli as brains as big as her bust really was rather apt. Tang Sanjia led Li Che and Gong Yunli to the reception hall. He had taken a liking to Li Che, because of Li Che's profound research into Tang family mechanism, which moved Tang Sanjia deeply. Using only Tang's mechanism essentials, you've studied so deeply, it's clear you really love mechanisms. Tang Sanjia began to smile. It's a pity you're not a descendant of the Tang family, otherwise I would certainly take you in and teach you the true succession of Tang family mechanisms. Li Che was also impressed with Tang Sanjia's understanding of mechanism mastery, Tang family's true succession of mechanisms. What's the difference from Tang's mechanism essentials? Tang Sanjia smiled, poured a cup of tea for Li Che. The difference is not big, but the records in Tang's mechanism essentials are ultimately superficial, many details are missing, purely based on groping. Being able to create the 9th-ranked Guanyin blood lotus is already extremely difficult. As for wood raven, Bodhi blood tears, it's basically impossible to create. But Tang family's true succession of mechanisms is different, it contains detailed manufacturing methods, and also, matching divine secret techniques. Tang Sanjia was not stingy with guidance. Since the fall of the Tang family, the reputation of Tang family mechanism plummeted, there were too few young people who liked mechanisms these days. This lad understands me. Li Che was also moved, talking about mechanisms with the old Tang, he gradually stopped concealing and shared all the insights he had on Tang's mechanism essentials. Even his new research on the Guanyin blood lotus, Bodhi blood tears, wood raven, and other mechanisms was shared. It was a feeling of mutual understanding between mechanism masters. After the conversation, Li Che also felt a sense of having met a kindred spirit too late in life. His heart stirred, and a fleeting light sparkled before his eyes. Dao fruit, immortal artisan, LV3, 95%. Looking at the sudden increase in the maturity of immortal artisan, a hint of a different color appeared in his eyes. This could also increase maturity? Perhaps. This is the most fundamental form of discussing the Dao. Tang Sanjia's appreciation for Li Che grew as he interrupted Li Che's contemplation. Young friend Che, do you know why the Tang family fell? Tang Sanjia sipped a large mouthful of tea from his cup. Gong Yunli, nibbling on snacks to pass the time, had been unable to understand what the two had been talking about for so long. She didn't even get to drink tea and now finally heard gossip that made sense to her, she couldn't help but perk up her ears, eavesdropping with curiosity. Li Che was also curious and inquired. Because of 4 words. Presumptuously arrogant due to possession of artifacts. Tang Sanjia placed down his teacup and said lightly. The imperial court set their sights on Tang family's artifacts, helpless, what to do? Those artifacts were peerless mechanical beasts. Li Che understood, mechanical beasts. Tang's mechanism essentials only briefly touched upon this subject, clearly this was the true secret of Tang family mechanism. Yes, peerless mechanical beasts, not ordinary mechanical beasts. Mechanical beasts are excellent aids for exploring mysterious temples and strange caves, and also terrifying weapons of war. Given the name presumptuously arrogant due to possession of artifacts, the Tang family was eradicated by the Great Vista's old emperor sending troops to destroy them.